All right. I think I got the audio going now. So, I'm going to see if this will get ready and log in. All right. A couple seconds here. And hopefully you guys can hear me now. I just had to adjust some of the settings. And then you guys can let me know. Can you guys hear me now? Am I good? Duck Dude, are we good? Are we good? The mic is on. Six Ink, what's up? You're one of my favorites, Six Ink, because you always comment, and I like that. Ryan, Chiefs fan, sound, yes, we are good to go. So right now, I apologize for the technical difficulties from before. Marcus is getting ready to go to the beach, Lincoln City. So I just wanted to hop on just a little bit. I saw that the Eagles and the Saints were playing on NFL Network. They're playing a lot of games now, getting ready to the regular season. And then I saw an article about 2019 top 5 Arsenals, going in. And I didn't really agree with the list. Who dat? Stephen Smith, Saints Nation, I see you, right? And they had, I'll go over the rankings, what they had. So you guys can kind of go over it if you haven't seen the article. But it was kind of, I don't know. It was kind of, I don't know if it was biased by the person that would, that put it in. I'm a Buccaneers fan, but I kind of call it how I see it. I give respect where respect is due. But with the video and kind of the little article that they had attached, they had this is crazy. All right. So top 5 Arsenals in the whole NFL, right? They had Vikings at 5. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph. I like that top 5, but not in my top 5. And then they had 4, the Eagles, right, which is too low. Carson Wentz, Jordan Howard, Zach Ertz, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey. I know some of you guys were kind of worried that, what's going on? You guys didn't have Alshon and Deshaun Jackson in top 5 duos. I think they're good, you know what I mean? But I think Carson Wentz really makes everyone better. So it's nothing really disrespectful to the Eagles. I have them much higher in these Arsenals than most people would have. They have the Browns at 3. That's anticipating they have a great year. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, and David Njoku. They're decent. Kansas City Chiefs, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with Tyreek the Freak Hill, but Mahomes, Damian Williams, which I love, Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, and obviously Tyreek the Freak Hill over Hardman once he actually starts to play. And then at number 1, they have the Rams, Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp, Todd Gurley, the second, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. To me, the order that I would have it in is for me personally, I would have the Saints number 1. That's just me personally. I'm not trying to be necessarily biased. I'm a Buccaneers fan. But, Drew Brees. What can you say? Can't guard Mike, Alvin Kamara, Ted Ginn Jr., and they added Jared Cook. To me, that's number 1. Number 2, I would probably lean towards the Eagles, to be honest. I like Carson Wentz a lot. I think the duo of Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey is great. Jordan Howard is going to be just like Jay Ajayi all over again. Zach Ertz is the best tight end in football, not named Travis Kelce or George Kittle. So I love that. 3, obviously you have to go with the clone, Showtime, and the Chiefs. I like Mahomes, Damian Williams, Travis Kelce, what can you say? Sammy Watkins and Tyreek the Freak Hill or McCole Hardman for now. And then last but not least, I'd have to go Baker, Odell, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku. But, there's so many great tandems and duos and triples and offensive weapons. But, it's all about personal opinion. It all depends on who you think has the coaching. It all depends on, who you think is going to make a deep run. But for me personally, Saints, Eagles are 2 of my favorites to make it to the NFC Championship, this year. I like them a lot. Not including New England on the AFC side. Obviously, Chiefs, Chargers, Colts, look like they're going to be very deep. Not saying that these other teams can't, make a deep run, but I really do like the Saints and Eagles, and that's why I wanted to hop on, just because watching this tape and reminding me of all the greatness that's on both sides of the ball, Eagles and Saints. That's why I wanted to kind of hop on and let you guys know how I thought. Let's see here. Quentin B, healthy Cup. Rams makes the best offense, but that's the kind of question mark. Cup is not fully healthy just yet, but I do love that top 5 and that offense. Same thing with Tyreek the Freak Hill. If they were all good to go, suspension, not suspension, you could argue that they're number 1 with Mahomes being, insane last year and putting up the numbers that they put up. But you can't say the Eagles are trash, young Nola. You know what I mean? You know, regardless if you guys battle in the playoffs and you see how it is, both of your guys' teams are fantastic. There's a reason why the Eagles were rated the number one team in Madden. It's not just by, you know, a lot of Madden ratings are wrong. A lot of Madden ratings are overrated or underrated. Let's be real. But, I mean, if you look at the depth with Carson Wentz and with everyone they have on offense and the line and defense, same thing you could say for the Saints. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to be able to hang with them if they stay injury-free. I mean, we're talking 11, 12, 13, maybe even 14 wins for maybe some of these teams, just depending on the health and the injuries. But I do love the Saints a lot. Not saying that the Rams or the Chiefs or some of these other teams can't make a deep run. I think they can. But I just think as far as being well-rounded, Doug Peterson at coach, obviously, the coaching staff on, the Saints is amazing too. That you don't even have to say anything about that. You already know what's going on there. Offensive line coaching, head coach, defense. I mean, they got the full package too. So I'm really excited. But I mean, this game right here, I had to hop on. I mean, like I said, depending on matchups, I mean, NFL Network, ESPNU right now also has the top 25 games. They've been doing like a marathon, kind of getting you ready for the college football season. So I'm obviously tuned into that as well, reading all kinds of articles and getting ready. But I wanted to hop on and just kind of interact with y'all. JJ Trilla, I know you're a Cowboys fan. I read all your posts too. So, you know what I mean? It's cool to have the rivalry, you know what I mean? But you got to give respect where respect is due. I know in JJ Trilla's one of his posts, he said the Eagles are old. Yeah, some of their members on the team are old. Cowboys are younger, but as you know, right, and anyone else that follows the NFC East, right, the same team doesn't win the division 2 years in a row. Who won it last year? You did, right? So chances are you winning again is not impossible. But it could be another team like the Eagles. So just saying, big facts. I mean, until I see it happen 2 years, 3 years in a row, I mean, you got to have to kind of go with history. History's meant to be broken, but that's just kind of how it is. Sean McVay is on Jimmy Kimmel tonight. Oh, he is. Okay, Ariana. I might have to check that out. Did anyone see Blake Griffin on Jimmy Fallon? Kind of going over, when people ask him for interviews when they're exercising, and he said that NBA players aren't dumb, but it's like after you exercise heavily, and then obviously you're going in to ask questions. I mean, you can't answer them properly, but I want to see what Sean McVay has to say. I know they're going to have a great season. We'll have to see what Todd Gurley looks like too. That's going to be a big question. I know some people think Todd Gurley is going to be great. Hunter Canterbury, what it do, baby? Who dat? But I don't know. I'm still kind of skeptical. You picked Henderson, in the third round, I believe. So you're going to be sharing snaps. I hope that Todd Gurley's healthy, because when Todd Gurley's healthy and you have all the top stars in the NFL, it makes a better NFL overall. But the thing is, if we're playing fantasy, right, and you guys are in the league with us here, right, would you take Todd Gurley if you had the first, let's say, pick 1, 2, 3, or 4? Would you feel comfortable taking Todd Gurley with the first pick, second pick, third pick? I think most people wouldn't, you know what I mean? Especially when you got guys like, Saquon, you got guys like Zeke, Michael Thomas. There's a lot of other guys that you might be kind of looking at. Most people aren't going to pick quarterback in that first round. But, I mean, kind of question marks with me with Le'Veon Bell, too. New team, new coaching staff. If you had to gauge between one guy that has, knee issues or a guy that's going to another team, we have to kind of wait and see how it goes. But I pray and I hope for all the Rams fans that Gurley's good, because that'll just make the rivalries and the games better, especially if we can get playoff games like we did in the NFC Championship game, and then prior to that where it's just competitive, and even during the regular season when we had some of those great matchups with the Chiefs and the Rams and, the Saints. I mean, there were so many great matchups going through. So young Nola, Saints winning the Super Bowl. You know what? I'm kind of rooting for the teams like, the Saints to get back there again. Even though I'm a Buccaneers fan. I mean, I love Drew Brees. I love Kamara, AK-41. I love Michael Thomas. I know it's kind of weird to hear, a rival of another team say, hey, I like this team and I appreciate their players, but I mean, I appreciate greatness when I see it. You got to put rivalries aside. When you see someone that's a great player or great players, you got to give them credit. Let's see here. So Are you guys going to be doing a subscriber fantasy again this year? You better damn believe it we are. We're going to give the details on that. We're probably going to do a 10-man or 12-man league. Me and Marcus will probably share a spot. And then at that point, once we share a spot, we'll have like kind of a draft process, and, we'll select some people, and as long as they email back promptly, then you'll be part of it. And anyone that was a part of it last year, we had a blast. It was fun. We'll have to see if we do a 10 or a 12-man, but either way, it'll be great. I'm hoping probably 12, so we can go a little bit deeper on the rosters. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But Saints-Falcons, that's our rival. Well, yeah, of course. Well, the Buccaneers obviously haven't been good, and we've been in the bottom of the division since 2007. You know what I mean? But, maybe in a couple years, I'm not saying if Arians can get it done, but, Devin White, could be special, and then they need to add a lot more pieces, get a running back. If they somehow could trade for Melvin Gordon, I think that they would be able to compete with the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons. Not saying that they could win those games, but they could compete, and that's the thing that I want to be able to see as a Bucs fan, and just an appreciation of the NFL in general. It's tough, you know what I mean? Because, unless you're a fan of a bottom feeder team, you don't understand what it's like to watch all the games or to get blown out every week, you know what I mean? Not make the playoffs since 2007. A lot of people don't have the commitment. It's easy to, be a front runner or just, I'm a Patriot fan, or just hop on the wagon, to, teams that are just winning 10, 11, 12 games. But, how about being a fan of a team that wins 3, 4, and you want to have some hope. I had a little bit of hope when they drafted Jameis, but I don't think he's the right player for the team. And unfortunately, Marcus Mariota, even though I'm a Duck fan, he seems like he hasn't really, made the next step either. So it may be like Tua or Justin Herbert or some of these other guys, Trevor Lawrence on Clemson. There's a lot of guys coming out of college that could be able to maybe take the next step. So let's see here. So Arya Damavandi. I feel like Rams will make a strong push this coming year if they can get past their Super Bowl hangover. But you know what? They're still the front runner to win the NFC West. Let's not, shake any sticks at it. 49ers are still kind of in that rebuilding mode. We'll see what Kyler Murray does. Even if he, goes wild, with his coaching staff and throws it deep, I don't see them winning really that many games, maybe 4, 5, maybe 6. Seattle should be a team that's in the wild card running, but I don't think that they have the talent to keep up with the Rams, even if Todd Gurley doesn't play or plays minimally. Depending on what happens with his knee throughout the season, Henderson is good enough to start, and they could still win that division by a couple games, in my opinion. But I know that, Seattle will definitely push because Russell Wilson is incredible, and he makes everybody better, and that's no doubt. Let's see, J. Trilly. You see Vander Esch's pick, Wentz in Philly, or when Coop made Darby tears it on the same play. Well, you know what? I watch all the games. You know what I mean? I really try to keep, everything that's in perspective, and I try to watch as much football as possible so that way I can, connect with everybody, but that way I don't have that, Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl. I don't believe that, you know what I mean? I try to keep it as real as possible. Marcus does too. And you got to stick it through and through. And then when the Bucs do make, let's say, an NFC Championship game, let's say they make one in the next 12 years, that would make me overly excited. Even if they got blown out, you just got to understand, what it's like, for me being a Buccaneer fan. Struggle, depression, it's tough. Mariners fan, the biggest drought in MLB baseball, haven't been to the playoffs since 2001, since Ichiro's year. Blazers, they had a nice year this year and made the West Finals kind of surprisingly, but there was a lot of misery and kind of a lot of, first round one and out, and just one and done. And then the Ducks, they, usually have some opportunities from every about 4 to 6 years. They had the Chip Kelly era, they had Mariota, but when they get to the championship game, they get overwhelmed by the SEC teams or the Big Ten teams, Ohio State, Auburn, Cam Newton, and then you end up losing. So a little heartbreak there, but, that's part of being a sports fan, you know what I mean? It makes it exciting. You got to stick with your teams no matter what, no matter, how bad it looks. But I do love these two teams on TV. If you guys are watching it right now, I don't know if you guys are in front of a TV or you guys are on your phones, or if you're mobile, or if you're at a bar, if you guys are somewhere. But you should turn this game on. This will kind of spark some juice and get some memories going, back up for the Saints, Nolans Saints, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. I have to admit, out of all the teams in the NFC, these are my two favorite to make it to the NFC Championship game this year. No question, no doubt. Seattle will be able to compete, yeah. Someone in between Chicago and Green Bay or Minnesota should be able to compete and put something together. We don't really know how good Atlanta or Carolina is going to be as well. But Saints, Philly, I feel that they've got the best coaching. They got overall the best rosters. We got to wait for Sheldon Rankins to come back. When he comes back, that's going to give him a whole nother edge, an advantage. But the bottom line, it really is going to come down to the reffing and then the pass interference calls and the replays, how that's going to affect the league. But I do like the chances of these two teams as far as NFC, crown winners, champion, division winners, more than likely. I would, I'm leaning towards it right now. I mean, obviously it's preseason right now, and you never know. Cowboys could make a run. You never know if any of the other surprise teams will make a run too. You don't know. I know Marcus is rooting for his Redskins to do something, but he may be a year or two away, so we got to kind of wait. But like I said, every year is different, and a lot of times you'll have a worst to first scenario, and you're just not expecting it on who it could be. But like I said, as far as complete teams, it's kind of hard for me to see that as far as anyone else really being that much closer. You flip it to the AFC. I mean, not including New England. Obviously, Gronk's gone. I get it. We're ready for somebody new. But I love the Chiefs. The defense got better. Obviously with Honey Badger, you added some nice pieces there, Frank Clark. So their defense will be better. So if they can score the points, that could be the difference. If they can actually stop somebody this year and get to the Super Bowl, wouldn't be surprised. People think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a sophomore, even though it's going to be third year slump. He sat for a year behind Alex Smith, and he had the great year last year, and he might have that quote-unquote sophomore slump. I don't see it one bit. I bet you he throws for at least 40 touchdowns this season. He might not get to 50, but I bet you he has an insane amount. They'll have tape on him, but he's so athletic, you're not going to be able to stop him. I love the Colts. I think they're up and coming. I think that they'll be able to make a run. There's a few other teams as well. Chargers, I like the overall roster that they have. But as far as coaching, I'm not sure if Anthony Lynn is the main guy that's going to be able to get him there, but we'll kind of have to wait and see. Let's see. I'm going to go through here some of the comments with some of y'all watching the game here with me. So it's funny, Connor, I know you're a big Saints. It's funny how people are still calling us the Aints when we've won the division title twice in a row, made soft playoff runs in both those years, should have been in the Super Bowl last year. And you could even argue, Connor, that you could have, without that Minneapolis Miracle, you probably could have won it and got there the year before. I mean, let's be real. The teams have been very deep. You had the Thunder and Lightning with Ingram and Kamara, probably one of my favorite players, period, in the NFL. So just a little bit of bad luck, and New England's New England. So you know that even if you get to the Super Bowl, it's not a done deal. But I did predict the Eagles beating, New England a couple years ago. And I said, pretty big, and they did it. But you just got to have that, main keys. You got to be able to run the ball. To beat New England, you got to have a great O-line and a great D-line, and they had the four horsemen running the ball. So, I mean, it was just a matter of them executing, and Slick Nick Foles, no matter what anybody says, he was amazing. And, his legacy is cemented, but people thinking that Carson Wentz, can't do it either. Let's be real. He would have won the MVP that year. If he would have stayed healthy. Let's not get it twisted. And I still think that even if Carson Wentz was there, he still would have been able to win the Super Bowl also, regardless if you love the Eagles or hate the Eagles. That's my personal opinion. Four horsemen, they had the four horsemen at the running back. They had good wide receivers. Zach Ertz is amazing. So bad it hurts Zach Ertz. You can't stop him. He's always been in my top 2, top 3 tight ends. Very underrated by people that don't know who he is. Everyone knows Travis Kelce, but people are going to find out how good Zach Ertz is and George Kittle if you don't already know. Moving forward, obviously Kittle on the Niners, but it's going to be exciting, going forward to be able to see, what happens in this NFL season. The main thing is I'm kind of wondering if Melvin Gordon is going to get signed or if someone is going to be able to trade for him. And if someone does, who is it going to be? Based off, the needs of teams like the Bucs that need a running back. It would be crazy, but I do want him to kind of stay on the Chargers, just to give him that depth, because you can't really act like he's not good. I mean, to me, when healthy, Melvin Gordon to me is a top 5, top 6 running back. And he makes a huge difference, because when he didn't play or when he was injured in that playoff run, they were not the same team. And that's big facts. So let's see here. So Joey Christ, what is up, my guy? So do you think that Zeke and Gordon will get their contracts? I do not. Do they deserve the money? Hell yeah, they deserve the money. Zeke is amazing. He's always been one of my favorite running backs in the league as far as all around running and catching the ball. There's not very many guys that do it better than him. You know what I mean? And you can put him up there with Zeke, with Todd Gurley when he's healthy, Le'Veon Bell when he's healthy, pretty much any Saquon Barkley when he's healthy. And even some people would take Zeke over those guys just based on his ability to be able to catch the rock and most of the time stay healthy. Does some knucklehead things off the field sometimes, but we saw how good he was, and we saw, Amari Cooper, what he did coming over. He needed to change his scenery from the Raiders, and then we saw it blossom into something special with Dak, which is another guy that I feel that even if you're a Cowboy lover or hater, is underrated too. He gets W's. He finds a way to use his legs. He may not have the, as good of maybe a pocket presence as like an Aaron Rodgers, but who does? I mean, let's be real. I mean, you got to find players that fit your system, and we're talking about a guy that was like a third, fourth round pick, not a first pick in the first round. So, you got to give him some respect too. I get the rivalry thing, it's like, fuck the Eagles, fuck the Cowboys, Redskins, Giants, Saints, Falcons hate each other, Niners, Seahawks, Bears, Packers, you all have those rivalries, but you just got to be able to, go from that. I said, Ryan, easily. Thank you for donating, my guy. My goal at this point is to be able to supplement more videos for you guys so I can be able to get some more content, maybe do a morning show at some point starting here in about a month or two. And I'm going to start pumping out videos in the morning all the way up to the point when Marcus gets off work, because I'm still working with him now. And then hopefully we can put out about 5 to 7 videos a day when we get into football season, 30, 35 a week. Some of the NFL videos that we're going to be doing with the highlights, we're not getting paid on any of those. So any donations down the road, if NFL fans and sport fanatics, feel that we're good enough to get a donation, that would be greatly appreciated, because there'll be some videos that we can do without highlights that we can, probably get some monetization and, get a little bit of money to, pay our rent and, do what we want to do to pay the bills. But, if we're going to get like 20,000 views on, Eagles versus Saints on like a regular season game, NFL and YouTube is so stingy. I mean, we're not getting any of that. They're literally putting all their ads on there, and they keep everything. So, I mean, we're putting in a lot of time and effort. And this season's going to be kind of like season 1 for us, not like last year, where we're going to put out, my goal is to do literally every NFL game this season for all you guys. So that way we can go over every team, not leave anybody behind, not leave the Bills fans behind or the Browns or the Cardinals. I mean, I want to try to get every game of every team, sprinkle in maybe some college football also, soccer, rugby. When we get into NBA, it's going to be wild. Probably try to go live on some of that stuff too. It's going to be tough, but I mean, this is my dream, and I want to make sure that we can keep everybody happy so no one feels left out. So we're going to do our best to get as many done. The big matchups, obviously me and Marcus will do when we're together, so that way we can give you guys the entertainment and the knowledge and the big facts that you guys deserve, like, Steelers versus Patriots, like the big matchups. And then I'll try to supplement maybe some of the other ones, so that way you guys can at least get the info and get the hot takes as well. Let's see here. So Javon Wright, is CMC a top 5 running back? Are we talking fantasy or are we talking in general? Because if we're talking fantasy, a top 5 running back, definitely. If we're talking top 5 running back in the league, I would say yeah. You know what I mean? He's a guy that can run and he can catch the ball. He's incredibly tough. His dad was Ed McCaffrey. Is he number 1? No. With some of these other guys that might be a little bit better, but as far as an up and coming superstar, you better believe it. And I would probably put him in that like 4, 5, 6 range with room to maybe get a little bit higher, but they do have a lot of competition. AK-41, Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley when he's healthy, Le'Veon Bell. There's plenty of other guys that are also kind of sleeper guys that could do a little bit better than people think. Like a lot of people were sleeping on Damian Williams last year on the Chiefs. If you picked him up in fantasy or you saw what he could do, it's sad with what happened with Kareem Hunt, but I mean, there's a lot of great running backs. Melvin Gordon's another good one. There's a lot of guys that could really pick it up. And I do like McCaffrey a lot, because he has the ability to catch the ball like Zeke, right? Get you a lot of yak yards, and he can break a lot of tackles. And I wouldn't be surprised. McCaffrey will probably be in most fantasy drafts a top 5 pick. He might not be the first pick, but he could be a top 5 pick. He definitely will be a first round pick in all fantasy drafts. You better believe it. Let's see here. Says Heel Puck. If we're being honest, McCaffrey will probably be the best PPR running back this year. Agreed. I mean, it's very possible. It just depends on if he can stay healthy, how good the offensive line can do for them. Cam Shoulder, You know what I mean? It just depends on a lot of the factors. But he seems like a guy that really takes care of his regimen, his body, his diet. So it wouldn't really surprise me that bit. So, but yeah, Young Nola, AK-41. That's one of my favorite running backs, and I think a lot of people were sleeping on him. Can he do it without Mark Ingram? You better believe it. I always thought he was better than Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is great as far as a 1-2 punch, but now we get to see how good Alvin Kamara, AK-41, the alien, can really be. Can he be that every down back, that 3-down back? You better believe it. I could see him scoring 12, 13, 14, 15 touchdowns. He'll have a couple, obviously, receiving because he's that athletic. And as far as what Kamara and what Michael Thomas do, that's what's going to be able to make what the Saints do. Nolans, especially with Drew Brees, because as those guys get into the offense and they get into their rhythm, it's really tough to be able to keep up, with guys like that, regardless if, you watch every game that they play, a few games, highlights on SportsCenter. You can't deny greatness, and both of those guys are great. That's just big facts. All right, 6 Inc. Simple. Thomas does not have another star receiver to help him out. Are we talking Michael Thomas? I said, he says Ted Ginn when healthy. Ted Ginn is not a superstar, but he's a guy kind of like Deshaun Jackson on the Eagles. He might not be what he was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but when healthy, it gives you that deep threat. And obviously you can be able to, supplement some of those, different big plays. But if you watched Drew Brees last year, he can get anybody open. He makes everybody better. You could have a no-name guy off the street. You could throw him in there, and he's going to be able to get him open as long as they can catch the ball and put him in good situations. And they'll probably go to Kamara a little bit more with just kind of maybe the lack of depth at the wide receiver position and obviously, losing some pieces at tight end. But I still think that they'll be great. Says Ginn is never, maybe, but that's the thing. Ginn is never healthy a whole season, 6 Inc. says. And that's true. I mean, there has been a number of years where he can't stay on the field, and that's a problem. But when he is, you know what I mean, it definitely adds that other dynamic on that other side of the ball to stretch the field. And they don't need to have 2, 3, 4 superstars at wide receiver. Michael Thomas, to me, is the best wide receiver not named DeAndre Hopkins. And you could argue he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Some people will say, Julio and Odell Beckham. But, I mean, if you watch all the Saints games and you watch his route running, his separation, his hands, he's the total package. He's not a system guy. This is a guy that's going to dominate the league. We had guys like A.J. Green that did it for a while, but then he kept getting kind of banged up. I would put Michael Thomas up there with anybody, period. He's that good. DeAndre Hopkins has got the best hands, and he has the least to work with besides Deshaun Watson. Finally, him getting a quarterback. But, yeah, that's what I pretty much believe. Duck Dude, do you think DK Metcalf will be as good, or is he a bust? I think he'll be good. I think that he can't run routes really just yet. He's got limited route tree, but he's big. He's athletic, right? He's got good hands. You got Tyler Lockett, right? So he's going to be the number one now since Baldwin retired. So you don't have to really worry about DK, doing everything. He just has to be a guy that gets open, and if they go to him in the red zone, just jump up and get it and grab it, kind of like Jimmy Graham used to do, back early in his career. But I do think that he will be. I don't think he'll be like a Pro Bowl player or anything like that, but he'll be a significant impact on that roster. Because, like I said, as far as guys that are built like a tank, I mean, he's built like he's like some professional weightlifter. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy to see someone built like that, NFL player-wise. I mean, Aaron Donald's pretty stout and built too, but I don't think DK Metcalf will be a bust. I mean, there's some really nice pieces, Hollywood. There's a few other players at wide receiver. Paris Campbell on the Colts. I mean, there's going to be some guys that are going to show out. We just don't really know who it's going to be. But when you have Russell Wilson thrown to you, I mean, he's going to be able to get you open. All you got to be able to do is break tackles and get in the end zone. David Frank, what's good, bro? Love the content, man. Keep it up. Thank you. I love the Chiefs. I mean, like I said, I think it's great for the league. I know a lot of people, didn't know how good Mahomes was going to be. I mean, sitting behind Alex Smith, but it was kind of like Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre. And we knew he was a gunslinger. I watched him in college at Texas Tech, so I knew that there was some potential, but let's be real. No one really, really knew that he was going to be that good. Andy Reid is a part of it because he's a great coach. He did it for the Eagles. He's done it for the Chiefs. Yeah, he's had some struggles winning the big one, but when you're going against the Patriots and you haven't really had the defensive personnel, it's tough. But you guys got a lot of potential. Chris Jones, he's one of my favorite up-and-coming guys. He is going to show out. You got Honey Badger. You got plenty of pieces, even though some of the other guys got a little older, like Justin Houston and whatnot. But I do think that the defense improved pretty dramatically. Kind of sad that Eric Berry couldn't stay healthy, because him and Honey Badger together would have been amazing. But I do love the Chiefs and what they have to be able to, in the near future, they're going to be battling with teams like the Colts, the Chargers, moving forward, and just to really fight for that spot. Yeah, obviously, New England's always in the mix, but if, New England gets bumped at some point or another in the next 3 years, these are the teams that are going to be battling it out. Phillip trying to get his ring, Mahomes trying to create his legacy, and I do like Andrew Luck and the Colts. People are sleeping on them in the next couple years. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts win the Super Bowl. No joke. They are very talented. Great coaching, you know what I mean? But obviously getting past New England is the big thing, because it's almost impossible with Belichick and Brady, regardless of all the cheating and everything that you can kind of come up with them. But Mahomes, being patient with David Frank and learning behind Alex Smith was great, because I'm not sure if he would be as good as he was last year without going through those kind of trials and tribulations and learning and sitting, even though he wanted to play. But look how it, worked out for him. He was the most dominant quarterback, not only last year, probably in the last 10 years that anyone has ever seen. He was doing everything. No-look passes, using his legs, just showing that he can go through his progressions, second read, third read, fourth read, but it also helps when you got Travis Kelce, arguably the best tight end in football. Tyreek Hill really had a great season, stepped his game up. Sammy Watkins, Damian Williams was great. So you have a lot of weapons there, but he definitely is a great teammate, a great leader, and I love him. And I think that they're due for a Super Bowl at some point. You may need to keep building that defense a little bit more. It may not be good enough just yet, but I like the direction that they're going in. Javon Wright, do you think the Panthers can make the playoffs? Absolutely, I do, even though I'm a Bucs fan. Getting past the Saints, that'll be tough, because they're going to be probably a little bit more well-rounded of a roster, and they don't have the health issues with like Drew Brees' shoulder like Cam does, right? But they have a great quarterback in Cam when he's healthy, right? He may not be able to be the most accurate guy in the pocket at all times, but he can use his legs, and in the red zone, he's the biggest quarterback threat in the red zone to run and score, because he's such a big guy, and he can just bull his way through. Run CMC is great. Defense, Luke Kuechly, they got a lot of pieces. Draft pick from Florida State is nice. So I do really think that they have a chance. How many wins are they going to be able to get? That's tough to say, because the NFC South is competitive. NFC in general is more competitive to me than the AFC. But if they stay healthy with Cam and everyone for the most part, I can see them, hovering around that, 8, 9, 10, 11 win range. If things don't go as planned, I don't see them winning any less than like 7. But, if they can stay healthy, and maybe Tampa doesn't win very many games, maybe 4 or 5, maybe Atlanta scales back a little bit, Saints maybe win 11-14, you could still get in with a wild card in the NFC, 10 wins, 11 wins. You definitely don't want to be at that 9-win range, because there's a lot of competition there. But if you can hit 10, 11, that should be able to get you in at a wild card, because you're going to be battling teams like Seattle, Green Bay, or Chicago. They're going to be fighting for that, 2 spots that are in that wild card. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So. Oh, man. Let's check out this game here real quick. Let's see what quarter it is. So we got 17 Saints, Eagles 14 with about 11 minutes left. I know you guys are excited, obviously, to get ready for this season and this NFL. I can't wait. This is going to be our best season as far as Northwest Sports Fanatics and the reactions that we do. We're going to put in a lot of work. You're going to see more videos than you guys have ever seen us put out. It's going to be a grind, but I love doing this. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Ooh, Brees going deep to Michael Thomas. Ooh, Maddox did play great last season, stepping up in ways that I don't think even Eagles fans thought that he could. Nice route. Kind of tripped over himself right there. All right. So, Mr. Nguyen, what is your opinion on Drew Brees' rating on Madden? Ridiculous.
I believe that he was around the Andrew Luck rating. It was like a 92 or something like that. There shouldn't be any rating where Drew Brees is no lower than a 95, in my opinion. A lot of the ratings were bunk. And then, like, literally, I think Mahomes was a 97. I mean, I know they had the 99 club and they had like the 4 or 5 guys on there. How do you throw for like 50 touchdowns and have arguably one of the best quarterback seasons that we've ever seen in NFL history, and you're going to throw a 97? I mean, if anything, Mahomes should have been a 99. And, I believe Mahomes is on the cover. So you're going to have the cover boy, even though they have like the Madden curse and whatnot, but you're not going to have him at a 99. So, I mean, that shows you right there that the ratings are kind of skewed. Yeah, 92, I believe, is what Drew Brees' rating was. So that's not accurate. You know what I mean? And as much as I love Andrew Luck, Drew Brees is better. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Some people think that the arm might be getting a little bit weaker as the age is kind of, getting up there. But you better kind of sit back and watch the highlights and watch the tape. He might have slowed down just a little, but that happens with age. But he can still zip it, and he'll be able to throw that deep ball, plenty enough, to be able to make that run. And you got to think in the past, they didn't have a dynamic duo like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. So for them to run screen passes and run the ball a little bit more, it's natural. Use your weapons. You know what I mean? You got a good line. You got good weapons at offense. You don't need to throw Hail Marys and seam routes and post routes, 3 out of the 4 times, when you get the ball on first down, when you have weapons like that. So Saquon was a 91. I know that's some disrespect too. But like I said, I mean, the ratings can be increased or decreased, online, based off the production. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, a lot of the rankings I felt were not even close. I mean, it's one thing, to be like a point off or 2 points off. But when some of them are like 5, 10, like Don Shingo, Wentz is an 82. That's a joke. Wentz is much higher than 82 at the very least. I mean, regardless if you're a hater or not, I would put Wentz at a minimum of probably like an 88 to 90, like somewhere in that range, because he's going to show people how, great he really is, not just with the weapons that he has, but the leader that he is. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles, make another Super Bowl run, if not this year, next year, the year after. I mean, they are that talented. So Ryan Easley, Mahomes wins the next 6 MVPs. I don't know about that. But, there's going to be a lot of fun football to watch as we keep going, throughout the season. So, NFC stinks overall. Come on, Ryan. They don't stink. NFC is the most competitive, top to bottom. Because you got to think in the AFC, I mean, really? I mean, if you go week in and week out, you know what I mean? You've always had just a couple teams, that are there. You had usually the Steelers in the past. You had, Patriots, Denver back in the day. But there was only a couple. You can go 6, 7, 8 deep, typically in the NFC, and you just don't really know, right out the gate on who's going to be there. You kind of have an idea, like last year we knew the Rams and the Saints were more than likely going to get to that NFC Championship game. But, it's a lot more competitive. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to stay healthy. The Bears, what they're going to be able to do with that elite defense. Seattle could make a run, even though they don't have the Legion of Boom anymore. You don't know what the Panthers or the Falcons are going to do. Even the Buccaneers, I mean, I don't expect them to make the playoffs one bit. But, with Bruce Arians, I mean, you never know. I mean, depending on, how they can open up the offense. They got Todd Bowles, a D coordinator. They could probably squeak out a couple more wins. But, anything is possible in the NFC. I feel that they're a lot more well-rounded, and it gives a lot of more teams hope that they can get to the Super Bowl. And I think in the AFC, if you're not one of like maybe 3 or 4 teams, you don't really have a shot. I mean, it's the room for error in the AFC. There's not as many teams that are really that competitive up there. I mean, there's decent teams like Baltimore, with Lamar Jackson, but I don't really see them as like a Super Bowl team. Maybe a team that can get to the playoffs. But we're gonna have to wait to see how good Baker Mayfield, horns down, is going to be able to be with that Cleveland Brown team. That's one team that I'm really excited to watch, just because, they've been on that low end like the Bucs forever. And it's cool to see them get some stars, get some pub, and hopefully they can make a playoff run. And that would be very exciting, I think, not only for me, but, for a lot of the teams and fans, moving forward. So Matthew Sanchez, do you think the Panthers, and I know you're a big Panther fan, I see all your posts, do you think the Panthers will ever make it back to the Super Bowl? Because the Panthers often reminds me of the 2003 Panther Camden Kursama, DJ, remind me of Jake, Steve, and Muhammad. Yeah, Jake Delhomme, Steve Smith, Mushi Muhammad. Hey, I know exactly who you're talking about. I mean, that was tough. I mean, they could have won that Super Bowl too. I mean, the only sad thing is that you kind of fell into that window when New England won their first 3 Super Bowls, and they won all 3 against the Panthers and the Eagles and the Rams by 3. I mean, and there was a lot of alleged cheating and whatnot, and you know what I mean. But you made it with Cam when he had his MVP year. I don't think it's impossible to think that they can't get back there, but you got to look at some of the other teams that have built their rosters a little bit better. So if they can keep drafting well like they did this year, and keep adding the pieces, and as long as Cam can stay healthy, they should be able to be in the running. But overall, coaching staff, I like it. Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. I think you got the right coaching, staff in place. Obviously you had, John Fox back then. He was excellent. Just couldn't get him over the hump, but it wouldn't surprise me. It's going to be tougher for the Panthers to get there, not impossible. Obviously it'll be easier for like a Rams or Eagles or a Saints team to get there, but I would say it would be easier for them to get there over maybe a Seattle team. Maybe even easier than maybe like a Green Bay team, because I just don't know what the Green Bay Packers defense is going to look like. Offense should be fire, with Aaron Rodgers, but other than that, I'm not really too sure what's going to happen. So Panthers go as Cam goes. Absolutely. That as Panther fans. That's pretty much how it goes. But you can kind of tell once you get to about week 10, week 12 where they're pacing. If they're going to be an 8-8 team, you know what I mean, and miss the playoffs, or if they're going to get past 10 wins. You can kind of feel it at that point. You got to get a little bit past halfway, and then you kind of get a gauge on what they're going to be looking like. But their draft picks this year have been pretty nice. I do like the pass rusher from Florida State. I think that he can make an immediate impact. It's going to be nice. So, Connor, I know you're saying it's absolutely bullshit that Newton has an MVP and not Brees. Yeah, Brees should have an MVP. I don't know, but, we don't vote. You know what I mean? It's obviously they have the writers and they have certain people. But the main thing is you ended up getting your Super Bowl ring, and that's the most important thing. And there's a chance for the Brees to get another one before the career is over. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So Ryan Easley, Raiders. Do I think, they're going to make the playoffs? Do I think that they're going to be a good team? Are they going to be able to recover after they're on HBO Hard Knocks? I mean, it's going to be something that we're going to have to wait and see. I do love AB though, and John Gruden obviously being my former coach at Tampa Bay. I mean, I do feel that he has the talent and the knowledge, but I mean they're a long ways away. They got Mayock helping him out with some of the draft picks and some of the other people, but they're a ways away. They probably won't make the playoffs until they go to Vegas. Once they go to Vegas, then maybe they'll be able to have a shot. But not this year. I don't think they'll have a shot this year, but they'll improve their win total, I believe. Who do you think is a better cornerback, Dante Jackson or Josh Norman? Oh, Josh Norman used to be really, really good. Obviously, what we saw, when he was on the Panthers and then went to the Redskins, and he's kind of had an up and down career there. That's tough. Maybe right now, Dante Jackson. You know what I mean? Like Josh Norman, I know Marcus is kind of fed up with him. Sometimes he plays decent and covers decent, but for the money that you pay that guy, I mean, he should be putting up 5, 6, 7 interceptions, and he just doesn't. So I feel that his ranking as far as a corner has gone down significantly, but maybe if because he was kind of a system guy with Carolina. He had guys all around him where he could take those gambles and it wouldn't burn him and hurt him. And then the gambles that he's taken in Washington, it's really hurt him because he's gotten burned and hasn't gotten the interceptions. So that's probably what I would feel, moving forward. But you never know. I mean, the NFL is a year-to-year thing, so you could always improve and, get better, but it just depends. BBB1, do you think Drew will retire if he wins the Super Bowl? No, because I think he'll try to win another one again after that. I mean, if you had Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and Cameron Jordan on your team and, the coaching staff with Sean Payton, would you retire? I mean, it's like Tom Brady. I mean, he could have walked away last year, but he's back. You know what I mean? It's all about legacy. Why win 2 Super Bowls, with the New Orleans Saints when you can win 3? You know what I mean? It's not the Aints anymore. We're talking about New Orleans Saints. So I do not think Drew would retire. I think he'd be excited. It'd be another cement to his legacy, but I definitely do not think that he would retire. He's still got a couple years left. Dante Jackson, Hunter. So you agree with me? I believe that. I watch a lot of football. I ain't no dummy. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna be right 100% of the time, but I definitely do a lot of reading and a lot of tape watching. So, Jason Lyle, how good do you think the Rams are going to be this year? I think they're going to be great, even if Todd Gurley takes limited snaps and he can't make it through. Cooper Kupp, obviously coming off the injury, we're gonna have to kind of see how his legs are going to react getting out there. I think even if Kupp isn't 100%, Gurley plays, half the snaps, Henderson can take over. They're winning a minimum of 11 games. They're winning the division, NFC West, period. Seattle will be able to fight with them, but I don't see Seattle winning any more than like maybe 9 or 10 games. I'd be shocked if they win 11 or more, to be honest. But the Rams have the potential with the best player in football, Aaron Donald, not only on defense, but arguably in the league, to win 11, 12, 13 games. 14, 15, 16, I don't know about that, because obviously there's a lot of parity, in the league. But I do think the Rams are going to win the division, and they could make a deep run again. It's hard to make a Super Bowl 2 years in a row, so I'm not guaranteeing that. But they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be exciting to watch. Another year of the offense, and Sean McVay can show you how smart he really is. And people don't realize, if you're not a Rams fan or if you're not a fan of football, Henderson is good. Henderson can be a guy, the draft pick, that they could implement as a starter, and he's going to give you good numbers, I believe. And obviously, if you implement a little bit of Gurley, you don't have to give him a lot of snaps. You'll be able to, see the production that he gets. Marcus is getting ready to go to the beach. So this was something where I moved the equipment over to my place just for today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, just to kind of go live with you guys and interact with you, since we haven't really been able to do that too much. And I saw that this game was on and wanted to kind of go over, top 5 Arsenals and just go over Saints and Eagles and a lot of the other teams that, that we normally don't get to go over. But he'll be back, obviously, on Monday. We'll be back on it, but I just want to make sure I'm going to be putting out more videos so I can interact with you guys and go over, answer any questions, and just, be a fan just like you guys, just go over everything that you guys need to kind of talk about. So, Mr. Nguyen, what is your opinion on the owners want to implement the 18 games? I think it's stupid. This is essentially just going to get the players hurt. They're not getting NBA money. You know what I mean? NFL players have a reason why they don't want to do this. Preseason games are booty. Booty-O's, just like New Day would say. Baby! Right? It's booty. We know the product is garbage, but you got to have a few of those 3, 4, 5 games to get the players acclimated to the speed. And less games means every game means more. And why do you think the NFL is the most, popular sport, in the USA? Obviously, soccer nationwide is huge, right? Football. But NFL, less games, right? More importance. You got to win more. They mean more. That's why with like MLB baseball, 162, 63, NBA, 82 regular season games, it doesn't really give you that same feel. But college football, 10, 11, 12 games, bowl games. NFL, 20 games if you get to the Super Bowl roughly, 16 regular season games. That is exciting because you just know every single game means something in the regular season. It doesn't matter if you're playing the Bills or the Cardinals or the Bucs and you're just going to roll on them. You know what I mean? You got to get every single win because you don't know if that win that you get against one of those lower teams could be home field advantage. When in the division, I mean, it means everything. But I definitely don't want 18 games, even me as being a fan, not one bit. So what if 18 games of 2 extra bye weeks, put a mandatory bye week before Thursday night football, would make everyone happy. But the thing is, it depends on what teams having to travel from the East Coast to West Coast, the time that the games are being played. Sometimes Thursday night football games are garbage because the teams don't have enough time to prep from that Sunday or Monday night game to Thursday. I mean, imagine playing Monday night football and then having to turn around and travel across the country and play Thursday. Are you going to be able to bring your best football? No, it definitely, even if you're an elite team like the Chiefs or the Saints or any of those Rams, Eagles, New England, right? It's still going to be tough for them. So I don't really think that's it could be something that they could do, but I just don't want 18 regular season games. Keep it at 16. Keep it the way that it is. But I'm very excited to see what they do. Hunter Canterbury, Devin White has a very bright future. Hate that he went to the Bucs. I agree. I'm excited. This could be Patrick Willis, Ray Lewis 2.0. He's the best player, arguably, on the defense already. Better than Sue. I love Levante David. That's my personal favorite player. I'm a linebacker type of guy, D tackle, DN kind of guy. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Simeon Rice, John Lynch, Rondé Barber. Those are my guys. You know what I mean? So this guy ultimately already, Devin White, is going to be Could be a Darius Leonard from this year. I really believe that he'll make a big impact. I'm not sure of a big enough impact to make a playoff run, but he is going to be exciting. And if he makes a first-year Pro Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think everyone will know his name at the end of the year. But I do see kind of a similar impact to what Darius Leonard did, because no one knew how good he was. Darius Leonard got drafted a lot lower, but obviously with White being a top 5 pick, if you watch any LSU highlights, you can see he's got a lot of Luke Kuechly in him, a lot of, there's a lot of guys that you can kind of compare him to, Urlacher, guys that go sideline to sideline, like a Patrick Willis, a Ray Lewis, type of player, and it's really exciting. Oh my God, I got a nice little donation. Zachary Adams, dude, thank you so much, my guy. I appreciate you so much. It's one of those things that, even if you guys do 50 cents, $1, I'm going to show you guys the dedication and everything that we're going to be able to put in with me and Marcus with the channel. And eventually we're going to get to a point where, if I have to quit my full-time job and literally just do YouTube full-time for everyone, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And so, but I need to be able to have enough money to pay rent and bills. But I want to be able to put out 30, 35, 40 quality videos a week with Marcus, just so that way that I can interact with you guys and, and just do everything that I want to do. It's the American dream. If you could do YouTube and make a living out of it, that'd be great. But it does kind of suck that the NFL, at this point, maybe they'll partner with us in the future. But if they can let us have our NFL videos with highlights, it would be a lot easier. To be able to financially be, okay. But, with how things are sitting now, maybe even a part-time job on top of doing all the videos. We'll have to kind of wait and see how that goes. But thank you so much. Any donation that you guys do, you guys are the best. I've sacrificed a lot of time and a lot of effort. And, I don't know if you guys really understand how much tape and how much reading me and Marcus really do. We read 4, 5, 6 hours a day. No joke. All the teams, all the players, all the coaches, you know what I mean? So that way we know all this information, because you know how YouTube is. If you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to get clowned, and they'll call you out immediately. Tape, we watch hours and hours and hours of tape. I appreciate you guys. Mr. Nguyen, I appreciate you too, man. And obviously a lot of people don't know, with the dynamic that we have, the chemistry that we have. I'm here from Oregon, Beaverton area, Nike headquarters. And then obviously Marcus is originally from DC, the DMV area. And obviously, people kind of wonder, with the dynamic that we have, because we've known each other so long, like how you guys, we got that Dumb and Dumber kind of like bouncing off each other, but we used to live together, we've worked together at like 3 different places, so we have that chemistry, and it's one of those things I think that you guys can see too. But we're going to work really hard for you guys, but ultimately the goal is to be able to do every single NFL game this season. That's really important to me, because like I said, I want to be able to do this full time, and for me to be able to do it full time, I got to put in all the work, more than anyone else thinks. Hunter Canterbury, do you think Jameis is the answer, or do you think the Bucs should look at someone else to take the next step? Crab legs, Jameis Winston. I was so excited when they drafted him, because finally the Bucs, are horrible. They get the first pick. I don't like him. I'm going to be blatantly honest. I think Bruce Arians can get more out of him, but he's still kind of a knucklehead off the field. He should have progressed a little bit more at this point. Same thing with Marcus Mariota, but I think both teams, Tennessee Titans and the Bucs, more than likely will move on. I'm not sure if Ryan Tannehill is the answer for Mariota there, but you got guys like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Tua. If the Bucs could get Tua, that'd be amazing. That would be kind of like a Michael Vick-ish type of player, and I think I'd be able to do better. But like I said, even though I don't believe in Jameis, there you put Jameis somewhere on a team, like, for example, if Nick Foles didn't go to Jacksonville and Jameis went there, he could probably have maybe more success, there with the defense and the coaching staff, or obviously New England or some of these other places that have a kind of a system in place. It's kind of, tough to see, but, we'll have to kind of wait and, and see what happens. We don't know. Jameis could surprise everyone and make the playoffs this year and turn it around, but I'm ready to move on. I've already seen what I've seen with him. He just doesn't make enough good decisions for me moving forward, unfortunately. So, but we'll have to wait and see. So you need to talk about the Lions more, the GOAT says. I love the Lions. Hawkinson at tight end. Stafford with his wife. That was really sad, so he'll be really motivated, moving forward. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that goes. Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson, obviously on the Colts, were amazing. But I think that the Lions have some sleeper guys too. Marvin Jones, A few others that, I think people are kind of sleeping on. Kenny Golladay, I like him a lot. We'll have to kind of wait and see how they have. But they're always kind of like, let's be real, they're kind of like the Bucs. They're kind of at the bottom looking up at Big Brother. They're looking up at Green Bay. They're looking up at Minnesota. They're looking up at the Bears. So it's going to take some time to be able to get up there again. And every time they get up there, it just seems they're superstars guys, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson. They don't stick around long enough for them to be able to make a big impact, unfortunately. So, all right, so do you think Tyreek Hill will get a suspension or nah? Zachary Adams. Whew, that's a good question. He could get a suspension. Obviously, it seems like the girlfriend was lying about some of the things. So even if that is the case, Goodell, who knows? I mean, what's going to happen there? I mean, he could get suspended, but even if he gets suspended for a couple games, 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, I still think that they're the front runner to win the division, if not the Chargers. Those are the 2 teams that are, going to be at the top of the division. Denver, we don't really know what Joe Flacco is going to do. Raiders still got a couple years to go, but I think the Chargers and the Chiefs are going to be battling for, obviously that AFC West crown. And I could see both those teams making the playoffs. No question moving forward. So Ryan easily says, no Tyreek suspension, my guess. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're a Chiefs fan, you don't want him to be suspended because if he plays every game, that's more games that you have an opportunity to win because we know how good Tyreek the Freak Hill is. He's amazing. He had a nice breakout year. So, if he plays, more W's, bottom line. I mean, that could go from an 11-win team, 11-5, to like a 13-3 team or a 14-2 team. Bottom line, it's period. That's big facts. So, Connor, what happens to Stafford's wife? I think she had some kind of brain tumor. So I think right here, just down below, it says the GOAT. Yeah. So you'll have some, if you read the comments, they'll let you know. So yeah, so it's kind of sad, that happened, but, life is unpredictable. You know what I mean? I had a family member that, went to the hospital here just about a week ago and really tough. I've had some tough times here in the last, probably 6 months with, family members, it's just one of those things. It's unpredictable. You just, you never know what's going to happen. You have to appreciate every, minute that you have with your loved ones and, do what makes you happy. That's another kind of reason why I want to do this full time. You just never know when the time could be up for you or your family members. And, it's sad, but I know Stafford will be able to rebound and he'll have a great year. So, Javon Wright, Luke or Bobby. So I would assume I have to go back and look. Are you saying Luke Kuechly or Bobby Wagner? Is that what you're asking? So you'll let me know here once you type in, and if you're saying that, I imagine that's what you're saying. Both are great players, Luke Kuechly or Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner doesn't miss tackles. I think he missed 2 all last season. So there's a reason why he's a 99 rating in Madden. That's one rating that they got right. A lot of people were scratching their heads about Bobby Wagner. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's been the best player on that defense for a long time. Earl Thomas, obviously, and Sherman and Chancellor and the Legion of Boom. But Bobby Wagner is one of those guys. He's going to go down in Seattle history as one of the greatest to ever lace up there. And Luke Kuechly, what can you say? Luke Kuechly is a modern-day Brian Urlacher, and when it's all said and done, he might even be considered better than Brian Urlacher. I mean, I'm kind of leaning that he's a little bit better at this point, just based off how many tackles that he can get per season. I know he can get 150, 160. He's one of those guys that I feel that can do it more than a few times in his career, but I'm not sure if one guy is a little bit better than the other. All right, MSA, what's up? What is your prediction for the Cowboys' record this season? Even though a lot of people don't like the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys will surprise some people. They won the division last year. People in the NFC East don't win the division twice, so that gives the Eagles kind of a leg up, in my opinion, based off their roster. Giants are kind of at the bottom. Redskins are kind of a wild card. You don't know if they're going to be a 5-11 team or maybe like a 9-7 team or somewhere in between. You just don't know. The Cowboys have a little bit more depth to me than the Redskins or the Giants. So to me, it could be anywhere between 7 to 10 wins. It could be like a 7-9 situation. But, I mean, it just depends on if, Zeke and Cooper and Dak, if they're disgruntled with the contract, if that's going to carry over with Jerry and the rest of the team, but DeMarcus Lawrence and Byron Jones and the rest of the guys, Van Der Esch, I mean, their roster is amazing. Their coordinators and coaching staff is amazing. I mean, no one really expected the Cowboys to be that good, and I think that they're going to be very competitive. Like I said, I don't see them just rolling up and just having a crap season and being like 4-12. I could definitely see them fighting for the division title. If they don't win the division, they're going to be right there, in my opinion, with the Eagles, fighting every single game. Could be like a 10-6 and 9-7, or 11-5 and 10-6 between either of those teams, and who knows who's going to end up having the better record, because like I said, that both teams have very well-rounded rosters. That's big facts, and a lot of people like to talk shit about Dak, and he's not as good as some of these other quarterbacks. Look at the numbers. He gets W's. He's a perfect fit for that team. I'm a Buccaneers fan. I don't need to hate. I just see it. You call it how you see it, and the production that he had with Amari Cooper, you can't deny that the bond that they had and the chemistry that they had. And Zeke, to me, is arguably, you could say he's arguably one of the best running backs that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. And he stepped it up huge in receiving the ball. No, I don't think a lot of people thought he could catch, 60, 70, 80 balls out of the backfield. So he's a lot better than people think. I like the roster a lot, especially on the defense too. I hated the Madden rating as a Colts fan. Only 84 for Darius Leonard, and an 86. Defensive Rookie of the Year, and had 7. Yeah, I agree. Lunar Senpai, we talk Colts all the time. I'm a big fan of the Colts. Darius Leonard, with the season that he had, they were saying when he got drafted that was one of the worst picks in the whole entire draft, the quote-unquote experts. Damn, he proved them wrong, didn't he? Right? Darius Leonard should be a minimum, to me, 90. Minimum, but I would put him probably like a 90, 91, 92. But it also shows you, they're putting guys, Brees and some of these other guys, they're not even giving proper guys the right number. But I definitely think that, he should have been much higher than that. But, moving forward, that's something for him to prove, and he can do it again and show how great he is. And, who knows, he might be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of guys in their second years, have breakout seasons and do it. J.J. Watt, I believe, in his second or third year, got NFL Defensive Player of the Year. So, there's an opportunity there to not only prove fans wrong again, but to be able to get the accolades. I know he wants to go, I believe, for 200 tackles. Something really up there as far as goals. To be honest, I know 200 is crazy, but if anyone could get close to that over the 160 range, he's going to be one of those guys that's up there fighting for those spots. So it's going to be awesome to see what happens moving forward. So let's see. Ryan Easley is a Chiefs fan. He said Dak is like Alex Smith. I like him, but average. But the thing is that I don't think Alex Smith, when healthy, or Dak is average. They are more than that. You have to be able to look at what Alex did, the year before that when he was playing with him. And you have to look at Dak and what he's been able to accomplish. Dak uses his legs as a weapon. He may not have the strongest arm. He may not, be the best in the pocket. He may not be able to improvise, like Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson or some of these other guys. But he can get in the end zone, and he's a perfect fit for their team. And remember, he's a 3rd or 4th round pick. Alex Smith was drafted 1st round, number 1 overall. There's not really a comparison there as far as, where they got drafted. You can say average or above average or slightly below, but, you have to also look at all those factors, too. It matters. When's the last time you've seen a 3rd, 4th round quarterback play as good as him? There hasn't really been too many that you can really think of. There's more first-round bust quarterbacks that are out there that have not even put up stats as good as Dak. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not a Cowboy fan, but I respect, the play that I'm seeing on the field. And if he was garbage and he wasn't good, how the hell did they make the playoffs then? How the hell did they win all those games? Obviously he touches the ball and he needs to be able to make an impact. Yeah, you have Zeke. The defense was great, but ultimately you need to score enough points to be able to help your team win. And he put, Cooper in great positions to be able to get those W's, and they did last year. So, I don't think that, he's an average quarterback. I think he's better than that. Is he a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, that type of, first ballot Hall of Fame right now? No, but he's a perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboy team. Fat City Saint, Cam will never win a Super Bowl. He doesn't have the heart for it. I don't know if I would say that. They got to the Super Bowl. They just had a tough matchup, when they went there. I wouldn't say it's impossible. Dak, 85 total TDs and the most wins in the NFL, only behind Tom Brady. See, J.J. Trilla, see, you know what I mean? A lot of people that, love the Cowboys or hate the Cowboys, it's more of just like it's a lot easier to hate and be negative than it is to be positive and, and look at the facts and not in a biased way. A lot of people don't realize stats like that. And that's why here on, the Sport Fanatics, we can throw out the stats. You can still have a dislike for the player or the team. I mean, if you're a rival, obviously Eagles fans are going to hate Cowboy fans. Cowboy fans are going to hate Eagle fans. But you can still respect players even if they're not on your team and you don't like them. That's the thing. Sometimes you don't have to be the best quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Sometimes it's about the team concept. That's really important in coaching. I mean, it's a big thing. You got to have all the ownership, the GM, the quarterback, the offensive line coaches. I mean, it trickles down to all those things. You know what I mean? You just can't have one or two pieces and think you're going to win. It just doesn't happen. All right, Lunar Senpai. Who do you think is better, Dak or Kirk Cousins? Both are mid-round picks. In my opinion, Kirk is better, but I'm kind of a Dak hater. Well, there you go. You got to take the Dak hate out of your heart before you make a statement like that. I think Kirk Cousins, has potential, but I think for me, as far as wins and a gamer, I think Dak is better. I feel that, Kirk Cousins can zip the ball better. A lot of the stats Kirk Cousins has, Marcus will tell you, they're kind of inflated at the end of the game. They're down 20-10, and he gets an extra 125 yards, just kind of garbage stats, kind of like a Russell Westbrook. The game's over, and he's just trying to pad his stats to get the triple-double. But I think that as far as the team concept and what he does, he can use his legs as a threat. Kirk Cousins really doesn't on that same type of aspect. So that's why I kind of give Dak the edge, because he can not only, zip it in there, right, and extend plays, but he can use his legs, and he'll give you, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns, on the ground. So I would probably have to go Dak over Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins is a better pure passer, agreed. But who's do you have more faith? And look at the roster that he had too. You got one of the best duos. You got Kyle Rudolph. Defense is pretty good. And how come they didn't make the playoffs last year? I know the Bears were great, and then Lions had their issues. You know what I mean? They kind of took a step back. A lot of people thought, obviously, with the running back position, Dalvin Cook hurt a lot. If they had that, they would be able to probably make that next step. But I feel that he kind of regressed a little bit instead of progressed in his, in his NFL game, because with that talent that the Vikings had, they probably should have made the playoffs, at least as a wild card team, or competed a little bit more. So there was a little bit of, just kind of disappointment for me. I thought Cousins would play a little bit better, especially with all those weapons that you have, offense, defense. They just didn't get it done. But obviously with the Cowboys, you got to look player for player. That defense and the coaching staff got the most out of their players, and it showed. They had some of the best games in the season. Do you guys remember when the Saints played the Cowboys and what the Cowboys did? No one thought that would happen. So, you have to really think about it on all aspects. Just because you don't like the Cowboys doesn't mean that they're not a good team. That's just big facts. It says Coop did save Dak and Zeke. I'm not sure. Really, well, it was the chemistry thing. Coop needed a change of scenery. You know what I mean? But also, too, did a lot of people think that he would turn the season around like he did? Because when he was on the Raiders, he didn't look very good. It looked like, I don't want to say that he looked like he was getting to the point where he was washed up, but you could tell that he needed some new motivation and a change of scenery. So, So Buccaneers is the only other NFC South team I respect. They're no toxic. Yeah, but, think about it. You went in 3, 4, 5 games, every year, and a lot of times not having hope. This is the first year I feel I have hope, with Bruce Arians. If you can get Carson Palmer and, you can get the Cardinals to a Super Bowl. I'm not saying he's going to do that for the Bucs. And then having Todd Bowles, which I think is a very underrated head coach that got fired at the D coordinator position. I got Byron Leftwich, which will be a coach in the future, or an offensive coordinator somewhere else on another team. So they have some of the pieces on the coaching staff, and this is the most hope I've had since Gruden and Monty Kiffin. It may take a couple years for them to win maybe 9 games and make a wild card, but it gives me hope, you know what I mean, with the roster. But they need to get a running back. Until they get a running back and keep improving the defense and the O-line, there's no shot against the Panthers and the Falcons and the Saints, and I'm going to be very honest and real about that. They need to get a running back, and if you don't, you're not going to be able to compete. You got to be able to run the ball and play great D, and if you can't do that, you're not going to win games, and I don't like Jameis at quarterback. So, I got to improve so many pieces. Jameis, more offensive lineman help, a running back, get some more weapons. The secondary's garbage. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things to do, but no drama is good. But Devin White, mark my words, he'll be a guy that impacts the league like Darius Leonard last year. He may be the guy that wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, and that'll put a smile on my face to give me someone to complement Levante David. Obviously, I'm going to be getting his jersey, Devin White, and I hope he's going to have a great season and help me win a couple more games so I can be a little bit more excited moving forward. So. All right, Connor, he says, am I the only one that thinks that Thielen fell off? There used to be all this talk about a competition between Thielen and Mike Thomas for the best wide receiver, and Thielen has gone a little quiet. I don't think he's gone quiet. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Stephon Diggs had a tape that he released last night in the middle of the night running routes. It was amazing. There's a lot of hard work that they put in, with Kirk Cousins there. I don't think people think Thielen is the best wide receiver. I haven't really heard that before. I think DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Thomas and AB, are up there, for as far as like best wide receiver. And you got guys that are creeping on up too, like Juju. If he can have a couple years of great success, that he'll be getting into the conversation. But there's a lot of guys that you can say, Odell Beckham might have a breakout year of like 15 touchdowns with Baker. We don't know yet. We have to kind of wait and see the chemistry. But I don't think Thielen is a top 5 wide receiver, but he's definitely a guy I would want on my roster. He's a gamer. You know what I mean? He's a guy that came out of nowhere a couple years ago and is very reliable. And imagine the Patriots were looking for, a Caucasian white receiver to implement like Edelman and all the rest that they've had in the past, Hogan, to be able to Wes Welker. He fits their bill. So if anything ever goes wrong, the Patriots might be calling and scooping him up, and then you'll see him just take off and put up great numbers. That's what they do, with white wide receivers. It seems like those are the type of guys that they're looking for, that just extend their careers and play great. It's just big facts. Feel sorry for the Bucs fans. They didn't make the playoffs in like 10 years, since 2007. That's sad that I know that, but it's being a fan that So, Cross 4, one of the biggest fans on the channel. I don't believe in Jameis. Neither do I. Let's get rid of him. Let's get somebody else. You know what I mean? If I can get Tua or someone else, Herbert, that would be great. We have to wait and see on how that pans out. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know really what to do. I don't want them to tank. I don't want to say that. But I'm ready to move on. And if they end up winning 9 or 10 games, and then if they extend Jameis, I'm going to be kind of upset because I just don't think that he's the guy for the team. I'm ready to move forward. If Ryan Fitzpatrick was still there, he's not the answer either because he's so old. But I wish him good things. Fitzmagic. He had some great games last year, but I need someone new, someone different to build for. So. All right, Matthew Sanchez, Panther fan. Do you think we'll ever see a different AFC team make the Super Bowl instead of the Patriots? Because I'm sick and tired of seeing those guys in the Super Bowl all the damn time. When can we have someone new? Big facts. Everyone that is not a Patriot fan feels the same way as you, including me. But when you have the same coaching staff and you have Tom Brady and Belichick, you're just going to have to wait. And you got to ride it out. You have to wait till one of those two guys retires or both. Or if one of the guys gets hurt, Brady or someone else, and then another team can step up. But the Chiefs weren't that far behind. The Chargers, if Melvin Gordon was a little bit healthier, they're going to be in the mix. I like the Colts' chances in the next couple years of being able to make a Super Bowl or an AFC Championship game. So there will be teams that will be able to creep up and compete. I'm not sure if it's going to be this year, because every year it seems like the Patriots are kind of like the front runner, but no Gronk. So that's got to be kind of an eye-opener for a lot of the AFC teams hoping to be able to get past them, because he was such a big impact for their team for many, many years. And even though his numbers were really, really down last year, he made those big plays in the Super Bowl and in the playoffs to kind of get them to where they are and getting that ring. And they're not going to have him unless they beg him to come back, which is possible. So, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm waiting for somebody new too. And that's why I love the NFC because it's always different every year. You're not going to have the same team over and over and over. There might be a couple powerhouse teams, like a couple, but it gives you hope because in the NFC, anything can happen. And you can get there. But if you get there, you got to win. And if you go against the Patriots like the Eagles did, and I predicted that they were going to win, they did, you got to have everything go right for you, and when that happens. So J-Rock, I got the Saints finishing at 12-4. How do you see it? That's a very good prediction. I'm in that same boat with you, big dog. I feel 11-5 to 14-2, somewhere in there. So that 12-4 or 13-3, very possible. I don't think that the Mark Ingram loss will hurt him as much. I'm ready for Marshall Lattimore to step up and have a great year. I love Cameron Jordan. I love the defense. I love Sean Payton. I love Michael Thomas. Can't guard Mike. People think he talks a lot of shit. He backs it up. He is the best wide receiver not named DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to be unstoppable. You're not going to be able to stop him. Kamara is going to have an amazing, blowout year. He's going to show everyone how good he is. To me, Alvin Kamara is a top 3, top 4 running back. I mean, you got other guys that are in the league that are, maybe more established, that have been there doing it longer. But with guys like Saquon, Run CMC, and Alvin Kamara, they're the new breed. They're the new generation. And they're going to surprise a lot of people. And they're going to keep getting better and better and better. And obviously, we know Kamara wasn't a first-round pick either. And he can do it. And that gives them the motivation when you're like a second, third, fourth, fifth-round pick, to be able to have that chip on your shoulder. So, but I definitely think that the Saints are going to be very good. And they're going to... I would say they are the front runner to make the NFC Championship game as long as they don't have any hiccups in training camp. I like them a lot. I think that they're going to be able to do big things, and they're going to be hungry because sometimes you got to lose before you win, and that's kind of the mantra sometimes. And you had the Minneapolis Miracle. That was tough. Last year was some of the bullshit calls, right, against the Rams in the NFC Championship game with the pass interference, right? A lot of heartache, a lot of pain, right? But if you get over the top this year, it's going to be all worth it. And sometimes that needs to happen. You got to lose before you win, and then that ring will be even more special for Brees and all the Nolans Saints fans moving forward. That's big facts. So who do you think is a bigger threat to the Patriots? I got my money on the Chiefs and then the Chargers and the surprising Cleveland Browns. Well, nobody's going to be really surprised about Cleveland. They haven't done it before, but if you look at their roster, Chubb is going to be the breakout running back this year in fantasy, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to do big things for their team. Odell, Jarvis Landry, Njoku should be able to have some more chemistry. Baker's going to get better. Myles Garrett. Denzel Ward. I mean, they got lots of pieces. It may take them a year or two to be able to do these things that some of the quote-unquote experts think they're going to do this year. I mean, if they end up going, 9, 10, 11 wins, awesome. I'm all for it. But, if they fall a little bit short and lose a couple, heartbreakers and they go 8-8, that's a positive direction, for that team. And, Baltimore and Pittsburgh are still going to be good. So there's no Cleveland's going to win the division and they're going to go to the AFC Championship game or make a deep run. We don't know. You know what I mean? Obviously, with the coaching staff with Tomlin and Harbaugh, they're going to have the advantage at least starting out. And then we're going to have to see with Kitchens and the rest of the roster. I mean, there's a lot of new. You got to be able to prove it. So we have to kind of wait and see. But I am rooting for the Browns because they remind me of like the Bucs and kind of the bottom teams, the Detroit Lions and some of these other teams that it's taken a long time to be good. And a lot of us have been waiting forever to be able to do something or make the playoffs, even as a wild card. So they said Browns are overrated, but we don't know though. I mean, they got a lot of great players. I mean, you don't really know. I like Baker Mayfield a lot. I think that he's, going to be in the future. We'll have to see what Darnold does in the Jets. But when it's all said and done, Baker might have been the best quarterback out of that draft class. You know what I mean? He's got the confidence, the swag. People play hard for him. Sam Darnold's more quiet, kind of reserved. Baker's the type of guy that's going to run up and down the field and chest bump, and that gets a lot of the other teammates excited. So I'm, as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, Darnold might have the pocket presence, but Baker more than likely will be the best quarterback out of the draft class, that came in that year. And they're surrounding good talent around him. That's well deserved. So, but we'll have to see. Yeah. Well, you say Browns are very overrated, Ryan, but you don't know. You don't know. I mean, if they end up finishing 10-6 and 11-5 or win the division, I mean, what are you going to say then? You know what I mean? Like, it's tough. You know what I mean? They still need more pieces, in my opinion, on defense. but I like the way the offense is shaping up. The only concern I have is I wish Joe Thomas was still playing for them, because they need good offensive linemen to open up and get protection for Baker, because there's going to be a lot of kind of bonehead plays that Baker will make, bad interceptions, bad reads, not going through his progressions. But it's going to be exciting football nonetheless. He's going to be able to improve just like quarterbacks do in the NFL. Some will go backwards, but I think he'll be able to improve his stats from last year. Who do you think, Matthew Sanchez, will be the next Cinderella story team coming this year? So worst to first. It's crazy. I mean, there's a couple teams that you could say. You could say maybe the Bucs win a few more games than expected. Maybe Kyler Murray is Patrick Mahomes 2.0. Maybe not 50 touchdowns good, but maybe they end up winning more games than expected. A lot of people think under 5 games. What if he ends up just showing out? Maybe they can't stop anybody on D, but what if he throws for like 40 touchdowns? We don't know. I'm not sure about Detroit. What about Jacksonville and Nick Foles? No one's really talking about them. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the same type of weaponry that the Eagles provided for him, but they could bounce back. AFC South is tough. Any of those 4 teams could be in the running for 9 or 10 wins if they stay healthy. It's kind of one of those things we don't really know what's going to happen. Is Deshaun Watson going to play great? Is Andrew Luck going to be like Darius Leonard and Quentin Nelson and dominate like last year? Is Jacksonville going to turn it around from 2 years ago when they made the AFC Championship game against the Patriots? It's tough to say. Is Tennessee, with their solid team on offense and defense, going to surprise some people? I mean, it's tough to say. You don't really know. It could be any of those teams that kind of bounces back. But I kind of like seeing the bottom feeders surprise people and make a run. So we'll have to kind of wait and see with that. So, is Mike Thomas worth $20 million a year? I say yes. Look at his body of his work. I agree. I think they were saying maybe Julio or some of these other guys are going to be in the running for $20 million. I absolutely, positively, 150% believe Mike Thomas is worth $20 million. I think a lot of people don't understand how good he is. Look at his receptions. Look at his touchdowns. Look at his route running. Look at his separation. Look how good of a player he is on tape, and then come back at me or any of the other people that are Saints fans or non-Saints fans that say Mike Thomas is great and he's if they say Mike Thomas is not a top 5 wide receiver, you're not watching NFL. You're not watching football, because he's already proven in these last couple of years that he is a top 5 wide receiver, even with guys like AB and Julio. I mean, I would take Mike Thomas over those guys, and that's saying a lot, for those guys in their body of work, because Julio and AB are first ballot Hall of Famers. But as of right now, I like the connection with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. That's big facts. What about the Cowboys defense? I think it's great. It's going to be top 5, top 10 like it was last year. It's going to be very stout. They're going to be able to stop a lot of teams. The coaching staff is great, but it's all about no NFC team in the East. NFC East wins it 2 years in a row, so they need to prove me wrong and really put it together this year. And hopefully the contract situation for Zeke and Dak and Cooper is not going to be a distraction, but I kind of feel it is. It's going to be a little bit of a distraction, and that might lose a couple wins for them. I hope not, because I like competitive, good football, but, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But, if you can run the ball and play defense, Zeke, and with their players that they have, DeMarcus Lawrence and Jalen Smith, Byron Jones, Leighton Vander Esch, if you're a Cowboy hater, those names that I just read off are excellent players, and you would love to have those guys on your team. And if you're lying or saying no, then you're not watching football. I mean, these guys are great. You could add those guys to your roster, and you'd be winning more games. I mean, these guys are gamers, and they're worth every penny. You know what I mean? It just so happens they're on the most hated team in the NFL, in the Dallas Cowboys, but that still doesn't say or separate the fact that they're good players. That's big facts. Yeah, Michael Thomas is a beast. See, Javon Wright, you know what I'm saying? You'd love to have him with Cam Newton. I mean, who wouldn't? I would love to have him paired up with Mike Evans. You know what I mean? He's amazing. You know what I mean? And, if you look at Ohio State players, obviously him being from Ohio State, Zeke, I mean, they have pretty good reputation. I'm not sure about the quarterbacks with like Haskins yet with Marcus. We're going to have to kind of wait and see. But on defense too, with Bosa and whatnot. I mean, both Bosas. So, they have a good, tree of talent coming from that school. So we'll have to kind of wait and see and how that goes. How are the Pats going to do without Gronk? Absolutely fine. They're going to win the division easily. The only team that might be able to compete with them for a little bit is the Jets, and they're probably going to win at no less 11 games. Front runner to go to the Super Bowl like they are every year. I hope someone else goes there. Chargers, Chiefs, Colts, anybody but them, I hope. But realistically, I mean, do we really think that's going to happen? I mean, I hope so. They got, Chiefs got close, you know what I mean? really, really close. But they did address a lot of the defensive needs that they needed to address. And, maybe this will be the year for the Chiefs to do it. They just got to get this Tyreek the Freak Hill situation under control and then go from there. Let's see here. So let me go back up here because I saw a comment that I want to go over. So let's see here. What do you think about 49ers D-line or defense overall? I like it. The 49ers are one of those teams that with Kyle Shanahan, they're rebuilding. They're going to have an Atlanta Falcons 2.0 team sooner than later. Kyle Shanahan is a genius. John Lynch paired up with him. They are going to make the right moves. You know what I mean? Like Kittle. You saw what, Tony Gonzalez when he was on the, Falcons and everything that they did. They're rebuilding the squad like that. It's going to take some time. You know what I mean? You had Harbaugh, and then you had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis, and you had all the pieces, Kaepernick, you know what I mean? It took a while to build the team, but then once you built it, you had a good 4 or 5 year run. It's going to take some time to build this roster, but sooner than later, they'll be better than the Cardinals. They'll be able to compete with Seattle, maybe not be as good as the Rams just yet, but eventually if they keep drafting most of their picks right, and they hit on most of their picks, I would see them being contending in the NFC West sooner than later. Is it going to be this year? Maybe, maybe not. I still think they're about a year or two away, but I do feel that they are going to be able to fight, with their roster. And obviously we saw with Mullins how good he did. Garoppolo, we're going to have to see what he looks like. But I do like the 49ers a lot. That was my favorite team growing up as a kid. Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Dion, Merton Hanks. The list goes on and on. Tom Rathman, that was if I wasn't a Buccaneers fan, I probably would be a 49er fan, even though I'm in Oregon and, in Beaverton and Nike headquarters. I just didn't ever have a Seattle connection. I'm a defensive guy. So I like, Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp. I like big hitting linebackers, and I just didn't really have that in Seattle. So, but with the 49ers, Ken Norton, they had some nice pieces there for quite some time. But obviously it was Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. How could you not fall in love with guys like that? So. Let me go down here. All right. So who do you think is better? Matthew Sanchez is a better young wide receiver in the NFC South. Godwin, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, or Lee? Great question. The thing is Godwin is going to have a breakout year in fantasy. That's big facts. If you grab him, he's going to put up good numbers. DJ Moore started to tear it up towards the end of the year. Jameis is unreliable. Cam is more reliable than DJ Moore. But Godwin has the talent, and that's why D-Jack is gone, so that we can get some more looks for him. I do like Calvin Ridley a lot. If I had to put him... God, that's tough. Putting them in any type of order with all those players. But I would probably say as of right now, Calvin Ridley probably has the edge right now. But Godwin, DJ Moore, and some of those other guys aren't that far behind. Like I said, those guys are getting closer. Godwin still has a couple, and Moore has a couple more years to kind of prove it. But Ridley definitely has the first foot forward. With 10 touchdowns last season, and he had the ability to get 3 in one game. So Godwin and Moore are close, but I think Ridley right now has kind of got a little bit of the edge going forward, not only in fantasy but just in general. So with your money on the line, who you got to win a game, the Chiefs or the Saints? Saints. And it just depends on where it's at. If the Saints are at home, Saints. If the Chiefs are at home, Chiefs. The home field advantage is an advantage in the Dome, right? Or obviously in Arrowhead. It's some of the best home field advantage, period. But like I said, depending on who's at home, that's who's going to win. How you laid it out, you had Chiefs versus Saints. So I assume Saints would be the home team, but that's how I would break it down. But both are great teams. I could see both teams winning Super Bowls in the next 5 years, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit. So. All right, too fast. 49. Rank your top 3 tight ends in the NFL. That's easy. So Gronk is gone. So for me, I would go Travis Kelce 1, Zach Ertz 2, George Kittle 3, and then guys like Eric Ebron are on the outside looking in. And that's just me off the top of the head. But like I said, Travis Kelce is amazing. I love Zach Ertz. And George Kittle is the breakout player that's going to keep getting better and better. And Ebron showed with Andrew Luck what he can do. But I think he's on the outside looking in. But I would take Kittle over Ebron just because of that, his athleticism and moving forward. But those would be my top 3. And those are going to be probably the top 3 tight ends picked in fantasy. So So, hey, I'm a Saints fan, Elliot Evans. What do you think the Saints' record will be this season? I answered that before with one of the other fans. I believe it's going to be somewhere between 11 and 14 wins. So probably 12 and 4, 13 and 3. I don't see a whole lot of weaknesses there. Once they get Sheldon Rankins back, that's going to be more W's because he's going to be able to make it shake, make it bake, and be able to get you some good W's. So that's what I think there. Possible of Michael Gallup having a better season than Ridley. I know it's a long shot. Logan Reyes. I think a question would be is more maybe Amari Cooper having a better season than Ridley because the talent level there is a little bit more comparable. Michael Gallup is kind of up and coming. He's still young, doesn't really know the whole route tree just yet. Dak will be able to find him some looks, but, Ridley had 10 touchdowns last year. So, Ridley definitely has a leg up on Gallup. Can Gallup get somewhere between 3 and 6? Yeah, you know what I mean? But for Gallup to get 10, that would mean Dak Prescott would have to throw for like 40. 45 touchdowns, and I'm not sure if that's possible, at least this upcoming season. But he will get better, moving forward. But if you had to pick one of those two guys in fantasy, definitely Ridley over Gallup. Ridley's on the kind of the up and up, and even his brother, is going to be looking pretty good, going into the draft next year. So I always found it crazy that the Saints Nation has found a home with some guys in the Northwest. Well, we appreciate talent. You see talent? Nah, the Saints, they got it. I've always been a fan, even though I'm a Bucs fan. I've always loved Drew Brees. I watched it with Aaron Brooks. I watched him with, plenty of players in the past. They've gone through a lot of ups and downs. Archie Manning, It's been one of those things where, they had a lot of times where it looked bleak, But when they got Drew Brees and they got, Coach Payton, things turned around, and then they were due, and then they had a great roster, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. And I don't think they're done. I think they're going to be able to win another one. Troy McDaniel, I agree with you on the wins. First guess would be at 13 and 3. There's going to be a lot of parity in the league, but like I said, probably to me, the best team in the NFC to me is the New Orleans Saints as of right now. We'll have to kind of wait and see. I would even be more solidified with it if Sheldon Rankins was 100%. I just like the motivation factor. I like the fact that they lost some heartbreaking games in the last couple years. That's going to make them hungry. And when you're hungry, you're going to play better. And some of the other teams don't have that same kind of disappointment and heartache that the Saints have gone through. So that's why I give them the edge over the Eagles, over the Rams, over Seahawks, maybe Packers or Bears, just because of what they've gone through in the last couple years. And if you go through that heartache and that pain, it's going to bring you stronger together as brothers and as football players and just in general. And I think they're going to just battle it out. You're going to go to war. And like I said, that's why I feel that they are the front-running team to not only win the NFC South, but to make the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. That's in my opinion. So, Gia Hua, how do you think the Patriots will do this year? They're going to do great. Bottom line, doesn't care. It doesn't matter if they have Gronk or not. They have plenty of pieces, good coaching. They're going to win 11 games minimum or more. They're the front-runner team to go to the Super Bowl. I hope another team ends up competing with them to make it at least interesting. They've had a top 10 defense in numerous years with Tom Brady, and that's why they keep going to the Super Bowl year in and year out. If you look at how many years that they've had top 10 defenses, it's insane. It's like, for example, let's say like Brady has played, just throwing a number out there. Let's say he's played since 2001, so we're in 2019, 18. So let's say he's played 18 years, for example, right? They've had a top 10 defense like 15 or 14 of those years. If you look it up online, it's something crazy. Like they have not had a top 10 defense only a couple years. So that's kind of a big reason why they've been going to so many Super Bowls. It's not just Tom Brady and Belichick. It's the coaching, that they've had. So it's a big part of it. Running back, coaching, defense. So that's really what it comes down to. So who do you think wins MVP? In my opinion, and it's Luck. Well, you are a Colts fan, so you're obviously going to say that. That's tough to say. It could be a defensive guy. It could be a quarterback. It's kind of tough to say. If I had to throw a name out there for someone, just throwing names out there, how about Drew Brees? You know what I mean? He needs an MVP. It's one of those things. They're going to be good. They're going to be in the running. In my opinion, Luck will be one of those guys that gets an MVP, but it won't be this year. It might be one of those things where they get to the Super Bowl and win a couple years down the road, but they're maybe just a few years away, from getting there. So But I do like Andrew Luck. I do like the Colts. I like what they've been doing. They're building something special with Reich, and they're gonna get there. But it just may not be this year. It could be. I do like the progression they had from last year, but sometimes you got to do it for more than just a year or two. You got to keep building the roster, and I do like what they've been doing so far. What team do you think can go 16-0? Nobody. Nobody is going to go 16-0. There is no team. There's too much parity in the league. No one is going to go undefeated. Will it happen again? To go undefeated and then go undefeated all the way to the Super Bowl and win, I don't think we're ever going to see that. And there's just too much competition in the league for a team to single-handedly just run the table with everybody. Point spreads and just the way that the league is nowadays, I don't think anyone will be able to go 16-0. And back when the Dolphins did it, the season was shorter, so it wasn't a full 16-game slate either. So, but we're going to have a competitive year, that's for damn sure. Young Nola, you feel me? You know what I mean? I'm out here in Beaverton. I'm out here in Oregon. And I'm a Bucs fan. So for me to say those things, I should be able to get some respect. You know what I mean? Because I follow every team, every player, every coach. No bias, just straight up facts. All right, Matthew Sanchez, do you think Bruce Arians can fix Winston as a better quarterback, or do you think the Bucs should move on from Jameis, the franchise quarterback, and take him to a championship? So I think that Arians will help him. He will be more accurate. He'll be better. But I still want to move on, regardless of what happens. I want to be able to move on, and get somebody different. I've already had enough heartache with him, and he's too much of a knucklehead for me. I think he needs to go somewhere else. If we went to a team like the Patriots and he could learn from someone like Belichick and be more disciplined, maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs to go to a place like that where they won't let him steal the crab legs or grab asses and do some crazy stuff. He needs to mature. And he was such a great athlete at Florida State, baseball, football. I expected a lot more from him, and he's definitely he hasn't lived up to the billing for the number one pick. But the same thing, even as an Oregon fan, a Duck fan, hardcore Duck fan, Marcus Mariota has not lived up to the billing either. And, that's tough. You know what I mean? Sometimes you peak in college and then you don't get better. You hit your ceiling in college and you don't get better, as far as NFL is concerned, which is kind of sad. But that sometimes you need a change of scenery. Sometimes you need to go to a new team. It's just one of those things. There's a lot of factors that are involved, but do I think both players can go somewhere else and maybe succeed better than where they're at now? Yes, but I definitely want to move on. I'd love to get Tua or Justin Herbert, someone different for Bruce Arians to move up and coach. And if Arians gets sick or moves on, I got Bowles that I can move at head coach. So I got room and wiggle room for coaching because I have two head coaches on the roster right now. So true. Let's see. Lunar Senpai, I am biased, but who would you take, Luck or Wilson? Well, you're a Colts fan, so you're going to say Andrew Luck. For me, Russell Wilson is the better quarterback. Andrew Luck has the better team. So Andrew Luck has a better chance of winning a Super Bowl. Seahawks are probably not going to win another Super Bowl anytime soon. Russell Wilson is great. Pete Carroll is great, but they lost Marshawn Lynch, Legion of Boom. No more Doug Baldwin. They have a long ways to go. They had their run of 4 or 5 years, kind of like the Niners. Niners are rebuilding a little bit better. Russell Wilson is fantastic. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever, put on cleats. But Andrew Luck isn't that far back from Russell Wilson, right? But he needs to keep proving, that he can stay injury-free. But they have such a more built, talented roster from top to bottom. Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson could be first ballot Hall of Famers at the rate that they're going. So I like what they're doing. T.Y. Hilton is great. So you have a lot of guys there. Ebron resurrected his career with Andrew Luck, which I love. So Luck not far behind. But like I said, if I had to choose one, like for fantasy, I'm going to go Russell Wilson over Luck, but just barely. But obviously, I think the Colts have the better team overall, and I think Luck will be able to get to a Super Bowl, and I think Wilson's time is kind of past. So, all right, Damien Pacquiao. Do you think Carson Wentz can return to MVP form in 2019? Damon, I absolutely feel that he can. Besides the Saints, the Eagles are my second favorite team in the NFC, period. I think Carson Wentz could go to MVP form. If they end up going to the Super Bowl and winning, he will be the MVP. They have a great roster. Deshaun Jackson, so bad it hurts Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey. They got Jordan Howard. You got great pieces on the line. Defense is great. Fletcher Cox. You got guys on the back end. Malcolm Jenkins. This team is well-rounded. There's a reason why they were the number 1 ranked team in Madden as far as all around. And that was one of the things I think that they got right up there, besides maybe a few of the other teams that should have got ranked up there as well. But I definitely think in the next couple of years, the Eagles are definitely going to be in the running for an NFC Championship game, if not a Super Bowl. But he has to stay healthy. That's the main thing. Can he stay healthy? That's the question mark. If he can, you definitely better believe they're in the running. But then if he gets hurt, there's no more Nick Foles there. So then you're in trouble. So you just got to make sure that he does. But I do like him a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential to grow. So Lunar Senpai, it's kind of crazy how the Colts were bottom 5 and now they're top 10 after 1 year. Well, what is that? It's coaching. It's good drafting. Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson, Frank Reich, getting someone from the Eagles that was knowing exactly what they were doing. Andrew Luck coming back from the injury, and being able to show how good he can do. T.Y., the running backs, being able to, put up some stats that maybe people didn't think that they were going to do, with the collection of running backs that they had. And then we don't even know how good Malik Hooker's going to be. That's another guy I love. So, that's what happens. The NFL is sometimes you can be a bottom feeder and go from worst to first and turn things around in a year or two. And then once you end up drafting well, a year, 2, 3 years, and you have the right pieces in place at coach, anything is possible. And that's why I think the Colts are going to be one of those great teams moving forward. How do I feel about the 49er running backs situation? Too Fast 49. It's crowded. It's crowded. You got to decide on what you're going to do. I know they got Jerick McKinnon last year, and then he got hurt. They're still, I feel, looking for that guy, that one piece that they can just rely on and not go with the collection of running backs. That's going to be tough. You know what I mean? It may be a year or 2 or 3 years before they get their guy that they really believe in, that is the man. But they're going to be running with committee, moving forward, I think, until they can get it right. They got Kittle on the right, position. They have a few other pieces at wide receiver that are kind of up and coming too. So it's a work in progress. They're not going to be able to do it overnight, but we'll have to go from there. So Elliot Evans, do you think Michael Thomas is a top 3 wide receiver? I think he's number 2. Exactly. Behind Hopkins. I agree. And then, like I said, you could, besides, Hopkins not having a whole lot to work with in his career, Michael Thomas, in some people's opinions, is number 1. And some people think that's crazy, but it's not. He's up there. Me, Hopkins, Thomas, AB. That's, if I had to go with 3 wide receivers, but then you got other guys that are right behind, like Juju and a few other Julio and, guys like AJ Green who used to be there, but they get injured too much. So I kind of slide them down a little bit, but I'm going based off like fantasy and who I would want on my team and, impact and, someone that I can believe that's reliable. But a lot of people are hating on Michael Thomas, but open your eyes, man. Look at the stats. Look at the receptions. Look at the touchdowns. Look at his route running. This guy's good. He is a very, very good wide receiver. If you had him on your team, you would be winning more games. That's big facts. He is a great player. And I'm a Bucs fan saying that, so that should mean something. Young Nola, who do you think the Saints will face in the NFC Championship? Front-running team would have to probably be either the Rams or the Eagles, because I'm not really sure if the Bears, Trubisky's, help on offense with the weapons. I'm not sure if they have enough. The defense is amazing. It's one of the best I've seen in a long time. Packers, we don't know how good the D will be. The offense should be good if Aaron can stay healthy. Rodgers. Seattle doesn't have enough for me to get there, but I think they're going to be probably a playoff team or a good team. Who knows about Atlanta or Carolina? They're like Seattle and the Packers and Vikings and the Bears. You just don't really know. But if I had to take a pick on, usually you don't have 2 teams play in the NFC Championship 2 years in a row. But Saints-Rams or Saints-Eagles would be my first 2 guesses, in the NFC Championship game. A long ways away. For football, we got training camp still to go. But those would be the teams that I would believe that have the edge going into the regular season. Too Fast 49, will J.J. Watt get a ring before he retires? No, unless he switches teams. That's something that he needs to do if he wants to be able to get a ring. If he doesn't switch teams, the Texans are not good enough. They don't have enough talent to be able to get there. Do you think the Panthers can win at least 12 games if Greg and Cam can stay 100% healthy? No. And I love the team. I think that they have a lot of Panthers, a lot of upside. I think Panthers have been one of those teams that get slept on every year. And when they went 15-1, no one thought that they could do that. They were right there. As if they would have played somebody different in the Super Bowl that year. Maybe things would have went different. I'm not saying that they can't make the playoffs, but 12 is really aggressive. 12 is going to be more like what the Saints are probably going to win, 12 or 13. But if the Panthers make the playoffs, maybe 9, 10, or 11 is possible. But 12-4 is tough. You got to think you probably would have to have a few more pieces on your defense. Thomas Davis not being there anymore, even though he's older, is going to be a huge impact in the locker room. Luke Kuechly and him, had that kind of bond together. So, and then they got the guy from Florida State, in the draft, which I like too, and that'll be a nice impact for them. But that's the thing: can Greg and Cam stay healthy? And more than likely, they probably won't for the full season. They'll probably miss a few games. But like I said, I still think that they have a chance to make the playoffs if they stay healthy. It's possible. Who has the better record, Chargers or Chiefs? Ooh, too fast 49. That is tough. I think the winner will be separated probably by one game. So you could go either way. Chargers have arguably the best player-for-player defense in the whole entire league. If you look at all their up-and-coming guys, if they stay healthy, Bosa and Ingram, Derwin James, they got a lot of nice pieces there. Chiefs, what can you say, Mahomes and all the pieces they have on offense. And then on defense, you added Honey Badger. Chris Jones is a beast. It's going to come down to maybe a game or two, but both teams are making the playoffs. And both teams have a definite chance to get to AFC Championship game, and both teams definitely have a chance to win the Super Bowl. If the Patriots get knocked out, those are the teams that you're going to be looking at first to be able to take it all. Chargers and Chiefs, and then the Colts probably a little bit behind them if they can keep it up from last year. It may take a year or two for the Colts to get there, but I think the Chargers, Chiefs, and Patriots are probably the front runners as far as today, going into the season. Paul Haywood, I know you're a big Vikings fan. What is the record for the Vikings? So it depends on Kirk Cousins. He kind of disappointed last season. You had some issues with some of the players on the defense. There's some mental health issues. Some of the distractions on the team. Dalvin Cook got hurt. So if Dalvin Cook could stay healthy, Diggs and Thielen play great. Rudolph plays great. Kirk Cousins makes good decisions and doesn't blow games in the fourth quarter. You got guys on the defense on the back end, and Xavier Rhodes hopefully gets back to being Xavier Rhodes, the lockdown corner. Harrison Smith is fantastic. 11-5 and 12-4 might be a little too aggressive, but you just don't know. If I had to put a record on them, I'm thinking somewhere between 8 and 10 wins. If they don't make the playoffs, obviously 8 or 9. If they make it, it'll be probably 10, because you think the a lot of parity in the NFC North. Bears are going to win a lot of games. Packers are going to win a lot. And then the Lions are going to steal a couple, so you just don't know. But obviously, as far as home field advantage, Vikings have it. But 11-5 and 12-4, I don't want to say is unrealistic. But, everything would have to go their way this season for them to get to that number. And you'd probably have to have Aaron Rodgers get banged up. And then you'd probably have to have Trubisky or Khalil Mack or some of their main guys either get, banged up or injured just to get a little bit more wiggle room to be able to get those wins. But they're not that far away from 11-5 and 12-4. But I'm just not sure if they would be able to get that with that division with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams connection, and obviously with the Bears defense being as good as it was. So, Damon, expectations for Nick Foles in his first year with Jacksonville. Wow, that's a tough question. You know what I mean? Fournette, great defense, Bouye, Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell. They got the pieces. But I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Obviously, their expectations, 10-6, 11-5, winning the division and making a run like they did 2 years ago. But with that division being so... Remember when the AFC South used to be the laughingstock, in football? All the teams were bad. No one was that good. And then now, all four teams, if they stay healthy, could go 10-6, or maybe slightly better. So it shows you in what a couple years can do. It can turn a division all the way around. And it wouldn't surprise me any team in the AFC South ended up winning, except maybe the Titans. If the Titans win, I'd be shocked. And I'm not sure really if Houston can get to that win total. But you never know. Houston, Jacksonville, Colts, they're all going to be in that running. But I think expectations for Nick Foles' expectations for himself, he's a winner. You know what I mean? So obviously they picked him for a reason. You know what I mean? They needed to get someone better than Blake Bortles. And if he can prove that he can do it in these first couple years and get him to the playoffs, then you found your guy. And then if he can win a Super Bowl in Jacksonville, if it ever happened, his legacy would be like a movie, So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I'm not sure how many wins you're going to get with that team. If I had to guess if they're going to overachieve or underachieve, I'm probably going with underachieving, and I'm probably thinking less than 9 wins if I had to take a guess. Unless there's injuries in the division, Deshaun Watson goes down. Mariota has some issues. They throw Tannehill in and he plays bad. Andrew Luck or, someone on their team, Darius Leonard, gets banged up, and then maybe you can gain a couple extra wins. But I don't know if that team is going to have enough weapons on offense for Nick Foles to be able to get the W's, in my opinion. So. How do I feel about Josh Rosen, Too Fast 49? It's a good question. I think he should be the day one starter. Ryan Fitzmagic is obviously probably going to be the front runner to be the starter in Miami. They're projected to be the worst team in the NFL. They should probably tank. And you can't say that, but if you want Tua, or Justin Herbert, if you want someone better leading the charge, but Fitzpatrick's probably going to get you more wins. Right? So, in essence, you start Josh Rosen. I don't think Josh Rosen is garbage. I think that there's some talent there. But if you go with Rosen, you're going to, not win as many games. And if that's the ideal goal, then you go Josh Rosen. You win 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Then you end up getting the first pick in the draft. You pick Tua or Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, one of those type of guys. And then at that point, you have Josh Rosen as a backup or trade him. Fitzmagic, is already kind of getting old, and it'll kind of work its way out. But I think, Josh Rosen has potential, but I just don't think it's going to be with the Dolphins. It's going to have to be on another team, sad to say, for his packing his bags from the Cardinals to there to another team. But you never know. It's kind of a wait and see. Yeah, Arizona did give up on Rosen way too early, right? And the O-line was awful, but when you have a head coach, that has a chemistry with Kyler Murray, you know what I mean? And, you've seen what Russell Wilson can do as a shorter quarterback. You're going to go with your guy, not a guy that you're going to inherit as a first-time coach, because you have limited time at head coach. They don't give you 5-6 years. They give you a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then you get axed. You get fired if you don't produce the wins. So I can kind of see why they did the Kyler Murray. Was it fair to Rosen? No. It's kind of bullshit, but it's the NFL. It's a business. You know what I mean? You got to win games. And Kyler Murray puts, butts in the seats, as far as hype. Josh Rosen does not. People are not going to pay big dollars to go see Josh Rosen play for the Cardinals or the Dolphins for that matter. But Kyler Murray, people will pay money to go see him, even if they lose, 12, 13 games. They're going to see the excitement, hopefully that he brings, to that division, as far as the Cardinals also as well with Larry Fitzgerald. Paul Haywood says, I would love to see NFL move some NFC squads to the AFC just to make things more competitive league-wide. Won't happen, but that would be cool to see. Yeah, back in the day with like the Seahawks and some of the transition when we had less teams. But there definitely is more competitiveness in the NFC than the AFC. But that may change after Brady goes and Belichick leaves. You'll see some other teams get better. I would think the Raiders will be one of those teams once they go to Vegas. Depending on if Gruden's there or not, will get better. There'll be some other teams. I think Colts are going to get better. Denver with Joe Flacco, we don't really know how good they're going to be. Von Miller's great, Chubb is great, but we don't know how good they're going to be on offense. If Denver goes 10-6 and makes a wild card, some people will be shocked. But then others, will be rooting for him, like John Elway, and, that they finally got a guy that, can play QB consistently. So, 6 Inc. Ryan, who do you think will be the biggest surprise team this season? That's a good question. Good question. All right, I got to think of all the rosters and the teams. Biggest surprise team. Man, I want to say the Bucs. But I'm not sure if I really believe that Arians can make Jameis turn it around. I know Devin White will make, some impact there with Levante David and Sue. So there's going to be some, not worst to first, but worst to a little bit better. I'm not sure where the Lions are going to go. I think the Bucs might be able to give a little bit more excitement than, where the Lions are sitting. Jacksonville kind of sitting where they were. They might be the kind of the surprise team. It's tough to say, I think the team that would be that no one's expecting to do anything would maybe be like the Cincinnati Bengals, maybe that team, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, that type of thing. The Jets, people with, Le'Veon and Darnold, they're, having some expectations. I love Jamal Adams, CJ Mosley. So if the Jets end up being pretty good, I don't think anyone's going to be like that surprised if you look at their roster. But if the Bills or like the Bengals, Lions, Cardinals, Bucs, kind of some of the Jacksonville, some of those lower teams do something, that would be, definitely a surprise. Could be 49ers. I mean, like I said, I don't think the 49ers are horrible, but they just have a few years to go. And we got to look at Jimmy G's health and, everything else as far as like a full roster is concerned. But yeah, that's a real tough question. I mean, there's so many teams, that you could say that about, like who could be that breakout team or that breakout person. But I don't think the Bucs are going to make the playoffs, but the Bucs might make the biggest improvement from last year with Arians and Bowles. They don't have a running back, and the defense isn't really there yet. But with Sue there, Levante David, Devin White, maybe they can, get close to doubling their win production or just get a couple more. So that could be the surprise team. Denver Broncos is a good one too. That could be a team that Joe Flacco surprises everyone. Obviously they moved on from, with Lamar Jackson, but the Broncos could be a team because no one's thinking that they're going to do anything. And what about the Oakland Raiders? That could be a team. I mean, you go on HBO Hard Knocks and usually your life is over. The team doesn't really do too good. Half the teams make the playoffs. The other half do bad. But if the Raiders do anything with AB and Tyrell Williams, that would be shocking. I don't think anyone would think that they would, be even close to winning the division with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Broncos. But if they end up competing and somehow, some way getting to 10 wins, that would be probably the most shocking thing in football. Even if AB goes off, I'm not sure if they have enough on defensive personnel. But Josh Jacobs at running back could be an impact guy. AB, Tyrell Williams, Carr, John Gruden, Mike Mayock. We'll have to look at the defense. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But those are my, few teams that I think that could do it. But you need more talent. There's a reason why these teams are kind of the bottom teams because they don't have the full complement at coaching staff or, on the roster itself on offense or defense. So Drew Lock could have a great rookie season. If they did, Flacco would have to play really bad for them to put him in. I'm going to the Seahawks-Broncos first game of the preseason, and then I got fourth row seats behind the Broncos bench because one of my best friends is a Broncos hardcore fan. I might even, help him out and wear a Peyton Manning jersey or something, see if I can get maybe, Von Miller or someone to throw some memorabilia up in the crowd. He's got a Elway jersey, Mitchell and Ness. And then the following day, we're going to go to the Edgar Martinez bobblehead day versus the Tampa Bay Rays. So we're staying there for a 2-day period, and we got 8th row tickets off first base. So that's going to be a fantastic, 2-day process to be able to kind of check out some of the talent. Obviously, Denver in the regular season would be a lot funner. But Tampa is coming to Seattle during the regular season in November, and I think I'm going to go just because if I don't go, I'm not going to see him for another 4 or 5 years. But I am excited to see kind of some of the younger talent that the Broncos players and Seahawks players have. Even if it's preseason, I was hoping it would be maybe week 3 or week 4, so you get to see the starters for a half. But you know what? You got friends that love a team, hasn't seen him live before, hasn't been to Colorado. So obviously I'm going to go with him and enjoy the whole process and sit that close. Fourth row on the 50-yard line is going to be pretty amazing, even if it's a preseason game. So, how shocked would I be if the Panthers win the Super Bowl? Extremely shocked. Javon, you know what I mean? Because I'm not saying that they can't do it, but I don't think a lot of people think that they're going to be able to get past some of the other teams that maybe are more well-rounded. And we have to see if Cam's shoulder is 100%. So, I mean, if they were going to make a deep run, more than likely it's going to be next year or the year after. But, it's the NFL. Anything is possible, but everyone would be surprised if something like that happens. But I don't think they have the same type of depth that they did in their Super Bowl year. And obviously Cam didn't have the shoulder issue either. So, do you think Drew Brees is a top 5 quarterback of all time? Wow, that is a great question. If he's not top 5, he's definitely in top 7, 8. If he's not up there, I mean, you got guys, Brady and Joe Montana. There's Peyton Manning. I mean, there's so many guys that you could kind of throw up there, and some of the old school guys too. For NFL history, if you go back with all the quarterbacks that have ever suited up, Aaron Rodgers is gonna be up in there in that category of an all-time quarterback. But I personally am more of a Drew Brees guy than an Aaron Rodgers guy. And as far as a short quarterback, he's the best short quarterback to ever live. I mean, that we've seen. Russell Wilson is kind of, nipping on his heels and stuff, but I think there's a big gap between Brees and Russell Wilson because of all those, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 yard passing seasons. And the guy's like 5'11", 6 foot. So, I mean, if he's not top 5, he's right on the outside looking in, but he's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks, period, of all time. We got about 2 or 3 minutes, and we've been on here for, a couple hours. I was going to shut it off, after maybe like 30 minutes, but I like engaging with you guys. So if you guys, are still wanting to, kind of throw questions out, I'll go for a little bit longer. I was planning to do 30 minutes to an hour. But like I said, I love doing this and just talking football with you guys. And usually you don't get me or Marcus to kind of give you, this type of conversation where we can answer your questions and kind of debate and talk. So I want to do this more often. So that way we can kind of, go over these questions, and do that. But, it's a tough question with Drew Brees. I do like him though. If I had to think about it, with all the QBs that have ever played, all the 5,000 yard seasons, if he puts up one more Super Bowl, then I say it's definitely a big fact stamp that. You know what I mean? With just the one Super Bowl, I think it's like, you're right on the outside looking in. But for him to really solidify himself, even though he has already, one more Super Bowl, and he's definitely top 5 of all time in my opinion. You just got to get that one more ring, for Nolans and all the fans across the nation, and then that will, I think, cement his legacy, kind of like Peyton, winning a Super Bowl, obviously with 2 different teams, with the Colts and Denver. I mean, that put him in a whole other category because it's so hard to do, in my opinion. So. Yeah, Too Fast 49. I mean, I know I haven't, been able, like I said, I wasn't even going to record today. It was one of those things that I had to move all the equipment over here because Marcus is getting ready to go to the beach. And I didn't want to not record, today or tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday. Next show, tomorrow. I'll either go live or I'll do another NFL video if there's something worthy of doing. Some of the formatting, I have to kind of go over the buttons. That's why my sound wasn't working before. I had to make sure everything was turned on. As far as a video with highlight reaction, I'll probably wait on Monday for Marcus, but I'll go online and do this live. Or I just answer questions and vibe with you guys. And then if I end up doing a video with no highlights and just something like that me and Marcus have done in the last couple days, I might throw one of those out there also if there's something worthy of talking about, going forward. Who do you like better? Jason Lyle, Aaron Donald, or Khalil Mack? I am not a Rams fan. I am not a Bears fan or a Raiders fan. But my favorite players when I was growing up, being a Bucs fan, was Warren Sapp and Derrick Brooks. Derrick Brooks is my all-time favorite player of all time. Levante David is my current favorite player now. Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, Rondé Barber, John Lynch. You can kind of see where I'm going. Obviously on the offense it was Mike Allstott, just the A-train. But Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack are both fantastic players. But for me, it's Aaron Donald because he's the Warren Sapp of this generation, but he's better. I never thought I would say that anywhere in the near future after Warren retired, that I would see someone as dominant at the D-tackle position than Warren Sapp. But I have found it here with Aaron Donald. Nothing against Khalil Mack because Khalil Mack is amazing too. He can play DN, he can play linebacker. He does it all. He makes a huge impact. He's an amazing player. I think both guys are first ballot Hall of Famers. But for me, what Aaron Donald did with the 20 sacks at the D tackle is a little bit more amazing to me than what anything that Khalil Mack has accomplished up to this point, besides winning like an MVP or Defensive Player of the Year type of stat, when he did it at the linebacker and DN position, which is unreal. Obviously, Khalil Mack is a G. He's amazing. But I think Aaron Donald, for me, not only is he the best player on defense, to me, he's the best player in football right now. In his prime, there's nobody better. I mean, the guy's got a 16-pack. He makes everyone around him better. It was a shame that the Rams couldn't get the Super Bowl last year against the Patriots, but sometimes you have to lose before you win, kind of like with the Saints mantra. And I think the Rams are going to be in the running for a Super Bowl in the next couple of years too, just like the Saints and the Eagles. And if those teams end up, all 3 of them winning in the next 6-7 years, definitely would not be surprised one bit. Simeon Rice was a monster, underrated player, I believe, and I know he won't go in the Hall of Fame. He was kind of borderline. I never, ever, never would have won a Super Bowl without Simeon Rice. That was one of the biggest pickups from the Cardinals, like Michael Pittman was when they played the Raiders and beat them. He was an absolute force. Warren Sapp was the best D tackle when he was playing. Derek Brooks was arguably the best outside linebacker at the time, and Simeon Rice was a top 3 D end at the time. And without him, getting 14, 15 sacks, making the impact that he did, making it easier for Warren Sapp and for John Lynch and Rondé Barber and the rest of the squad to make plays. No Super Bowl. It would just never would have happened. And I have a Simeon Rice jersey. That was one of my very first jerseys I ever bought. I had a Keyshawn jersey. I had a Simeon Rice jersey, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, and a few others, down the road. I've even had my struggles. I have a Josh Freeman jersey, sad to say, still hanging in the closet. I have a Doug Martin jersey, which is kind of sad. So after a couple of these epic fails on offense, I don't like offensive jerseys, really. I'm more of a defensive guy, so I will never buy an offensive jersey really ever again, unless it's maybe like a Jerry Rice throwback or Bo Jackson or Barry Sanders. It's defense all the way for me. I like defensive players. So, I have a Levante David and a Derek Brooks that I rock pretty frequently during the season. But the next jersey I get is Devin White. And I don't know if there's anyone else that I would buy anywhere in the near future. If I did go offense, the only one I can think of is maybe Mike Allstott. That would be one I would invest in. But, like Rondé Barber, John Lynch, and some of those others would definitely be on my list too. Were you surprised with how John Lynch is doing as a GM? No, because he's got Kyle Shanahan, and they have a great duo together. No one really knew what they were getting with them as a duo. Shanahan was proven. John Lynch was unproven at that position, but great minds think alike. And as long as they, keep trying to draft and hit on those draft picks, as more times than not, they're going to be the Atlanta Falcons 2.0 that Shanahan built, and then they're going to be able to have their run at a Super Bowl at some point. It may take a few years for the Niners to get there, but with Shanahan, I believe he's one of the most underrated coaches in the league, just because they haven't had the success. Well, Jimmy G got injured, duh. They didn't really get to show exactly what they could do because he had the injury, But they're on their way, and I can see big things from the 49ers at some point, but it may take a few years, so you got to be patient. It may take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but once you get there, you'll probably have a couple-year run where you're going to be able to, compete with the big boys like Seattle and the Rams in the division, but it's going to take some time. So there's Elliot Evans. I only have one jersey, and it's Michael Thomas, but I want a Sheldon Rankins jersey or Demario Davis. I love Demario Davis. He was the glue last year. I have a bunch of jerseys. My jersey collection is off the chain. I probably have like 15 or 20. I got Ken Griffey Jr. jerseys. I got Duck jerseys on Michael James, Herbert, Bucs jerseys. I'm Damian Lillard. I'm a Blazer fan. I got jerseys on jerseys on jerseys, but there's only a few of them that I really rock. But defense all the way. I've always been a defensive guy. Linebacker guy, Lawrence Taylor, Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, anybody that plays the linebacker position, Derek Brooks. Those are the guys that I love watching. Luke Kuechly is amazing. I love him a lot. If I wasn't a Bucs fan and if it was more accepted, I would rock a Luke Kuechly jersey. There's a lot of good jerseys out there on defense of guys that I love, but obviously in football, it's kind of, you can't really do that. It's not like the NBA where it's a little bit more accepted, or baseball, so. But, it's been a couple hours. I want to make sure that I thank everybody that donated today, that asked questions today. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody's questions, but I felt like I got to quite a few of them. I'm going to do this more frequently so we can connect, and I hope you feel that you can connect with me a little bit differently. But I love doing this. And who you Nguyen? Is it too early to give up on Jameis? No, because he's had plenty of years, but we haven't really had the right coaching staff to do it. You know what I mean? And even if Bruce Arians can get Jameis to win 10 wins this season and we make a wild card, I still want to get rid of him. It's not, it's one of those things that it's time for me to move on, man. I need to be able to move on from him and get a different face and a different leader, because I feel sometimes when you have that personality that's too strong, alpha, and if the other players they don't respect you. You know what I mean? They're not going to play hard for you. If you notice when Ryan Fitzpatrick came in there, the players were playing harder for him than for Jameis. So sometimes when you have these motivational talks and you're the leader, sometimes it falls on deaf ears. And I feel that Winston is kind of at that point. So even if they made the playoffs this year and shocked everyone, I want to move on. You guys are like, don't leave, don't end, bro. 10 more minutes. All right. I'll do it for you guys because I love you guys. You know what I mean? So I'll keep going for a little bit. What do I think about Quan Alexander? I love him. I'm disappointed that he had to go, but you guys paid him the money. He's going to be a great addition for you guys. He had a little thing with like the PEDs where he had some little issues. There's been some guys that have had some issues with doing things off the field or taking supplements or things that they maybe shouldn't have. But Quan Alexander was one of those guys. If he would have stayed on my team, I would have probably bought a jersey of him. That's how much I liked him. You know what I mean? He's a stud. He's a sideline to sideline guy. He paired up with Levante David great. He's going to do big things for your team. I hope that he can stay injury free. And he's a fun guy to be around. I think people really like him in the locker room, and he's one of those guys that's going to bring it, every game. So I got my girlfriend here messaging me. She says hungry, so I might have to end the stream here pretty soon since I've been on here for a couple hours, because obviously she'll come in here. But you know what? It was fun. After I end up taking care of a few things. Let me see what time it is. It is 8:55 my time here. So let me take care of some stuff. And if I have time to come back on, I'll come back on here before the night is over. And we can just go live and do that. I mean, do you guys want me to stay on if I come back online? You guys want me to do that, or you guys want to just wait till tomorrow? I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, but I got to take care of a few things for a few minutes. So it's up to you guys. Hey, Damon, you got to make your girl happy. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you take care of that. I don't have a personal IG, but we just have the Northwest Sports Fanatics one, which I'll start updating a little bit more. We have the Twitter. If you look at our links, you can see that I have a Twitter, the Orion_NWSF. If you have a Twitter, Mr. Nguyen, you can reach out to me there. But like I said, just as far as the Instagram, it's just the Northwest Sports Fanatics on there at that point. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this more often because, like I said, I love doing this. So more than likely I'll be back. But if in any case I can't come back because I got other things to do, I promise I will be back tomorrow after I get off work on my full-time job. And then at that point we'll talk football and we'll do this all over again. And I appreciate every single one of you. It was really fun talking to all you guys, and hopefully I answered your questions and gained some respect, from all the fans out there with, the answers and the questions. And we'll do this again. I'm going to do this all season. Like I said, my ultimate goal is to do this full time and not have a full-time job besides YouTube. So if I can do that, that'll be great. So I'll take a break. You may see me tonight. It may be tomorrow. And I'll be back for the stream. You guys are the best. Have a great night. And we'll talk NFL very, very soon. Peace out.